Hello, hello. Welcome in. Dr. Dark. Thanks for the follow, brother. I see you, Ashley. I see you. Why you running away, Ashley? Come on now. All right, we got 12 minutes until the reveal. Oh, dang. A lot of people are tuning in. That's good. Hopefully everything's going well. All right, but let's full screen this bad boy. Should be good at like 85%. Running to the stream? Hell yeah. Yo, happy birthday again. I'm glad you enjoyed the card. It was funny how we all set that up. It was so nice, yeah, I'm sure. W. Ashley and her birthday? Shout out Ashley, as played by Ashley, y'all, on YouTube. Check her out. She started doing some YouTube shorts. Check her out. She plays a variety of games, some horror games, Fortnite. Check her out. And guys, if you're checking this out as a VOD, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video. And hopefully this reveal will be full of surprises. All right, we got 11 minutes left. Hopefully we get some juicy content. I'm trying to see some new skill gems added. Hopefully some Transfigured Gems for certain minion skills. That'd be cool. Since Mirage is not staying with us, so I'm assuming we're gonna get like a brand new mechanic that we're gonna like mess with throughout the league. Hopefully, well, Abyss is most likely coming in, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like the Path of Exile 2 version of Abyss, which in my opinion is better than Path of Exile 1's version already. So that's going to be really fun to play with. And Abyss, if you guys haven't noticed or didn't know, that Abyss drops a lot of minion gear, especially, you know, the Darkened Shroud belt comes from Abyss, which is going to be, I wonder if they're going to change that up a little bit. We shall see. We shall see. I've been playing Assassin's Creed a little bit. Haven't been streaming much. Summer has been hectic. Things been going on behind the scenes. But I will be streaming the League Start next week. And hopefully I could get at least one League Starter out for the channel. I know a lot of folks who watch me from Path of Exile 2 and Diablo. And if you're trying out Path of Exile 1 for the first time, I will try my best to give you a good beginner guide for a minion build, a minion league starter. So I've been working on that behind the scenes as well, whenever I can. Come on, GGG, give us some good. I wonder, dude, what I really wonder is if they're going to add crossplay. Like, if they're ever going to add crossplay. That would be actually such a huge W to Path of Exile 1 and its life, to be honest, because there's so many players on console that would benefit from having crossplay. I mean, the first like 5 leagues I played was on console. And the hardest part about playing console was the market. The market, like, you try to find an item that costs like 5 chaos on PC market, you try to find the same item on console and it will cost like 5 divs because there's such a less amount of players. So I'm always hoping they add crossplay. Every time they do a reveal for Path of Exile 1, I'm always hoping they add crossplay. And then the other thing I'm hoping they add is controller and mouse and keyboard swap simultaneously support. So you can use your controller and mouse at the same time for the UI to change. I mean, there's so many ARPG games that do that, and it's such a shame that Path of Exile have not done that yet. That's so weird to me. Like, at least have it where there's an option where you can click, oh, I'm playing with a controller, but I wish to use my mouse for inventory management or UI management. So you can use your mouse to do, you know, gear stuff, picking your passive points, and maybe like picking up loot. But you can't cast skills with your mouse. You cast skills with your controller. Like, that's just, I'm sure they can do that. If not, they can hire me and I'll figure it out somehow. You feel me? But yeah, hopefully they got some good juicy stuff in the reveal. I'm excited. I'm always excited for some Path of Exile news. If they do minion buffs, that would be actually that would be so funny. Minions are already so powerful. I am definitely going to be league starting a minion build, just because I'm comfortable with it. It's going to be easy to make content for it too, to boost my channel's growth as well. Hopefully get some new players subscribing to the channel. That'd be good. And then if the league's really nice and really fun to play, you know, we'll dabble in other types of play styles for sure, like always. All right, 6 minutes. Let's do it. Somebody texted me. Nope, my bank texted me saying, hey man, stop spending too much money, bro. Stop spending money you don't have. Oh no. Yo, how about Argentina, huh? Going to the final for the 2nd time in a row in the World Cup, bro. Yo, what up, Dismal? This reveal better be worth missing my nap time. Wow. You could take a nap when they do the post interview. You could have technically slept already and then just rewatch my VOD, you know? But it's not the same, I understand. I need a live reacts. Oh yeah. They're gonna come out. Hey guys. Hey guys. Jonathan here from Grinding Gear Games. Today, we're going to show you how to fish in Path of Exile 1. Fishing is a mechanic where you can generate divine orbs and much more rare items. Thanks for watching, y'all, and see you on 3.29 launch. That's it. That's going to be the whole stream. And today, we are nerfing warriors for the 100th time. We're gonna have to dig for worms. Nah, you have to use divine orbs on your fishing rod. The bigger, the more rare currency you put on your fishing rod, the bigger the loot. That actually sounds like a cool mechanic. People be putting mirrors on their fishing rods and they get back like a scroll of wisdom. Imagine. Hi there, Jonathan here. Hi there, I'm Jonathan from Grinding Gear Game. Dang. Yo, Messi is the best player in all of time. If you disagree, you don't know ball. If you think anyone else is better than Messi, You're delusional. Gotta do the Kiwi accent. Kiwi accent? I don't know what the Kiwi accent is. New Zealand? I don't know. I have no idea how to do a New Zealand accent. I was watching Streamer University a little bit, and I was wondering if I would have applied and I got picked for somehow, how would I even adjust? How would I even adjust to that like environment? Like I would be teaching people how to make builds. It'll be like, what do you do? What do you stream? I just stream RPG games. If Streamer University makes a soccer team, I'd apply. Why not? Fuck it. That'd be cool. I think they have a basketball team on the whatever. Teach people how to make snacks. I'll tell people. I don't even know. All right, boys. Got a minute left. Hi there, I'm Jonathan from Grinding Gear Games. Yeah, I'm trying to see what kind of shoes Mark has. Mark always has the Adidas Ultra Boost on, so he'll probably have some new Adidas Ultra Boost on this time as well. Last time I think he had some black ones with green stripes. This time he's gonna have blue. He's gonna have black ones with red stripes. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it right now. He gonna have Crocs. Ugh, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile, and welcome to GGG Live. We have massive changes to show you today with Path of Exile Curse of the Oriflame, which is coming out next week on July 25th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's livestream, so you'll be able to claim your Abyssal Soul Shatter Rare Finisher effect by following the instructions below. Let's not keep you waiting though. Roll the trailer for Path of Exile.
Give it to us. Let's see it.
The Oriflame calls us to the sea.
Pirate League?
To a lost wreck that still draws ghostly breath. A curse down below. With my lanterns, we can explore the sea floor.
Okay, it looks like you're feeling something.
We must find the source of the Oriflame before the brine rot. Somewhere in the blackest depths.
Yo, what up, Adam? Welcome in, bro. Glad you can make it.
Death await.
Curse of the Oriflame. Ooh. It look like a cool boss. Oriflame crafting. Okay, more crafting. I can't read that fast. Okay. Abyss rework. Yes, sir. Nice. New Abyss boss fight. Sweet. Legion improved, y'all. New uniques. Mercenaries. Yo, mercenaries are back. Atlas anomalies, new uniques, okay. There were new pact spells, Ascendancy.
Come find your fortune
They say new Ascendancy?
in the depths
Yeah,
of
that's
the
a lot of
sea.
stuff.
In today's stream, we'll be walking you through all the details of Path of Exile, Curse of the Oriflame, where you'll comb the ocean floor discovering sunken artifacts of forgotten origins, fight the horrors of the deep, and do your best to keep from being crushed by the waters above you. We're revisiting some familiar mechanics to bring new life to systems that have begun, perhaps, to show their age. Abyss and Legion will both be receiving significant upgrades,
Sweet.
including a new pinnacle boss for Abyss and a new chase crafting system for unique items in Legion. In addition to revamps of the existing leagues though, we're also bringing back some old friends. The Mercenaries of Trathus are making their way back to Rayclast. Then we'll explain our new endgame system, where you'll join Kirak in investigating anomalies appearing on the Atlas. After that, we'll discuss the character and skill balance coming in Curse of the Oriflame. Finally, we'll cover our new set of supporter packs, after which we'll have a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will interview Path of Exile's game director Mark, as well as game designers Octavian and Andrew, answering your questions from Twitch chat. After the livestream, we'll drop the full patch notes at 11 AM NZT. So let's get started. I'll hand things over to Mark to introduce the new league.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts.
Yo,
game
he
director
has
on
white
Path
ones
of
on,
Exile.
bro.
In Path of Exile,
Oh
Curse
my
of the
god.
Oriflame, a
That was my
long-forgotten
second
mystery has
guess.
begun to stir beneath Rayclast seas.
Oh my god, they're so
Hidden
clean
in the icy
too.
depths lie strange and immensely powerful treasures, waiting for those bold enough to claim them. Meet Valerie, a dangerous Corsair captain who needs boots on the ground and on the sea floor to help her retrieve these treasures and unlock their potential. This is where you come in, to help her find the charts scattered across Rayclast. Then, use those to guide her ship to the patch of brine that holds loot for the taking. In return, you'll get a cut of the profits. These lost charts are guarded by the undead, rival corsairs, or horrible creatures of the deep. Each of these monster encounters will also have a custom bonus for defeating the enemies. For example, successfully defeating the accursed undead that guard this treasure chest will cause the grateful trapped soul inside to grant you its power, possessing you and granting you ghastly power for the rest of the area.
Okay.
Once a chart is in hand, you'll board the good ship, the Sovereign, Valerie or Val's reappropriated Oriathan naval vessel. Here, Val introduces you to the heart and soul of her ship, quite literally. Vesper, another Pondium native like Val, is bound to this ship. His soul burns with the Oriflame's curse, and were his comatose body to be removed from the ship, he would surely die. The silvery apparatus that lines the bows and eaves of the vessel allow him to steer the Sovereign anywhere in Rayclast's waters. Using the chart you've brought, Vesper can navigate to a location so you can scout it for Val, and while doing so, claim whatever treasures there might be. How, though, will you avoid a watery grave once sunk below? Vesper controls a spark of the Oriflame, a powerful and mysterious magic, which has been imbued into a number of devices aboard the ship. Chief among them, the bathysphere. This entirely safe and well-tested contraption of rivets, bolts, and metal will be your ticket beneath the waves to explore and plunder. While scouting the depths, in order to not need an ample supply of air, we're instead going to place all-flame lanterns. These are conduits of the power that keeps Vesper alive and bound to the ship, and give you the temporary safety you need to do that exploring. Without them, you will drown. The first of these is strapped to the bathysphere and activates on landing, rushing the water away to reveal horrifying monstrosities, lost treasures, and a strange luminous coral growing from the corrupted dead in the oceans of Rayclast. These strange growths are the real reason Val has asked you to plumb these waters, as the coral can be broken down into dead man sulfur, the fuel that keeps Vesper's light burning. As you get to the perimeter of the safety provided by an all-flame lantern, Val will drop more down at your request. There's also an option available to have new lanterns fired automatically for you as soon as you need them, if you prefer speed over fine control. Explore and claim what you can while you can. Lost fortunes of gold, chests of valuables, and lurking threats all lie in wait for you beneath the waves. You might even find the odd lost missive, waylaid on its travel to its intended recipient. But hey, finders keepers, right? Beware though, as Vesper can only power so many lanterns at once, and that power is finite. On placing the last of your lanterns, they will begin, one by one, to flicker and fade, and the creatures of the deep will rush in as they sense the vanishing of the light. You'll have to rush back to the safety of the bathysphere, escaping the cold clutches of creatures that despise the light you bring. You'll want to place every lantern though, as exploring to collect enough Deadman Sulfur is the only way to successfully chart the area for the next step, planning a voyage. Val will keep a record of the areas you've charted, storing details in her journals. Once you've charted enough areas, just talk to Val, place your charts on Val's board, connect them together, and create one giant seafloor excursion. Each area you chart will reveal a special modifier that applies when it is used as part of a voyage, applied to either the charts adjacent to it or the whole voyage. Here are a few examples. This modifier causes all equipment dropped by monsters in adjacent charts to be converted to gold. This modifier will spawn friendly jellyfish alongside every pack of monsters in your voyage, which you will promptly slaughter for extra loot and experience, we're sure. This modifier causes all monsters in adjacent charts to be empowered by wildwood wisps. With 9 positions on your board for charts when constructing a voyage, these can stack up fast. There are also charts which can take you to specially rewarding areas of the ocean floor. Fields of anchors strewn with treasure chests full of loot. Calgary and shipments lost at sea. And sunken abyssal pits teeming with monsters, to name just a few. There are even some ancient artifacts you might find and resurface. Additionally, the edges of the voyage board track the currents of corruption flowing through the waters of Rayclast, with randomized effects being rolled with each new voyage to affect the charts placed adjacent to them. These add even further rewards to your voyages, and can shake up the way you choose to place your charts. Stack all of that together, and a well-planned voyage
The ad
with a bit
starting
of luck
in 2 minutes.
can be a very profitable endeavor. But with so much loot to claim, how are you going to get it all to the surface? Val has a solution for just that problem. In each of the charts that comprise your voyage, there will be a capsule waiting for you, sent down by Val, which can store about an inventory worth of loot. Stuff these full, send Val a signal, and she will pull it back up to the surface, safe and sound. Since voyages are built of 9 charts, that's a lot of opportunities to send back plenty of valuables. Once you're satisfied with the plunder from your well-planned voyage, find any of these capsule locations and call the bathysphere to it as your ticket out. Val will send it down to your rescue, as fast as she can. You just need to survive until it gets there. Good luck. Once you do, don't forget to empty all those capsules full of loot. Now, back to all that Deadman Sulfur that you've been hard at work gathering. Is that just to keep the Sovereign afloat and Vesper alight? No, it's not. Once you've got a bunch of it, head below decks, and you'll find the heart of the ship at work. Whilst Vesper's body remains above deck, burning away in a contraption of tarnished pipes and corpse-stained glass, resides Vesper's soul, and you'll find him to be a pretty crafty fellow, if a bit melancholy.
New crafting.
That's where this league's item crafting system comes into play. Give Vesper an item, alongside a currency that you could normally use on that item, and an ample supply of Deadman Sulfur. That item is then split into a multitude of ghostly forms, each of which will be the result of having applied that currency to the original item.
Yo,
You can then pick
that's
which
actually
of the
crazy.
ghostly outcomes you like best to keep for yourself. The others will go up in smoke. as Vesper can only reify a single outcome.
That's actually pretty cool.
This can be done with almost any crafting step you'd like. Want to see a few outcomes for that influenced exalted orb? Perhaps you've got a particularly expensive fossil combination you want to get maximum value out of.
Wow.
Do be wary though, as the more potent the craft, the more sulfur Vesper will require to see it done. That's not all, however, as the seafloor hides some yet undiscovered potential in the form of rare and valuable ducats. These can be consumed by Vesper to warp and twist items in ways not seen in centuries, such as Kishara's Ducat, which creates 4 ghostly copies of an item, each of which will keep 1 mod from the original, perfect for creating powerful crafting bases.
Oh shit.
The Gentile's Ducat, which can solve item or gem requirement problems by changing one attribute to another.
That's cool.
And Brine Hook's Ducat, with which you can become an emissary of the gods of Rayclast. Who knows what these aspects might do? These Ducats come from special types of charts, so keep an eye out for them on your travels throughout Rayclast. You may even find some that lead you to notably unwelcoming waters. So that covers the new league, and for the first time in Path of Exile, we're finally going under the sea. Some might even say this is the first real boat league. But that's not all, not even close. Next up, we've got an old favourite making a return. The mercenaries of Trathus are once again roaming Rayclast, looking for hapless fools to duel. Mercenaries will start appearing from Act 3 in San. Before beginning a duel, you'll be offered an overview of the mercenary
Shit
you've
was
encountered.
so OP, bro.
Here, you can see the gear
They would
have
one-shot
equipped
my
and
character
the
like half
skills
the
they
time.
employ. As per the Trathan Code, you have the right to wager for an item the mercenary is carrying. You'll stake some of your gold, and the duel commences. If you lose, you forfeit the levied gold, and the mercenary will teleport out, repulsed at such a poor display. Win, however, and to the victor will go the spoils. In addition, if you win the duel, the mercenary will aid you as an ally for a number of areas. Trathan mercenaries are powerful allies to have in Rayclast, assisting in a number of ways. Some mercenaries can provide you with powerful auras and buffs, while other mercenaries can do all the killing for you.
So they're not permanent.
While in map areas, if you don't like anything the mercenary offers, you have the ability to request their warrant. A warrant is a promise to return and duel again at a later date. A call to action that calls that specific mercenary to a future map, with the same set of skills, but a new set of items. A mercenary will only grant their warrant once, however, preventing you from fighting that mercenary in every single area. Warrants
like they're not
also allow
permanent.
you to trade specific mercenaries to other players. It is important to note that unlike in Mercenaries of Trathus League, having a mercenary does not count as a player party member. So having a mercenary does not increase monster life or the quantity and rarity of items dropped from monsters.
Yikes.
Given that, you may be wondering, but what if I really like a mercenary I found? They have a great personality and powerful skills. Is there really no way I can keep them as an ally permanently? Well, you can, but only if you are a Scion. For the second time in 6 months, the Scion is getting a new ascendancy class, the Luminary. The Luminary is a natural leader, lighting the way for others to follow. Becoming a Luminary immediately lets them allocate the Noble Blood passive,
dude.
allowing them to permanently hire any mercenary they find in Rayclast.
Buff to the Scion,
Luminaries
dude.
can
Holy
have up to
shit.
3 permanently hired mercenaries.
Holy shit,
2 in
dude.
reserve in towns and hideouts, and 1 as an active ally in combat.
Bro.
Unlike with regular mercenaries, you can change the items permanently hired mercenaries have equipped, opening up innumerate potential build possibilities. By default, permanently hired mercenaries cannot be equipped with unique items. but these passives enable them to equip specific
that's
types
busted.
of uniques.
Bro, the
While
mercenaries are
legendary
so
arms passive
powerful.
empowers mercenaries that have many different unique items equipped.
Yo, holy
Luminaries
shit, that was a
have the
good, great
flexibility
node.
of becoming a support character to their mercenary, or having their mercenary support them.
You just
The
put
Oath of
Doriani's
Fealty
prototype on a
and Golden
mercenary and
Glory
you're done.
passives
It's like
empower
having
your
Wreck out of
mercenary
slow.
by using your link skills on them. The Loyal Bodyguard and Bestowed Knighthood passives enable your mercenary to protect you in combat, as well as enhancing their aura skills. As with any old league that we add to the core game, we have added full Atlas Tree and Scarab support. Here are just a few examples. These passives allow you to much more easily target the specific types of mercenaries you want showing up in your maps. The Loot and Pillage passive gives mercenaries a chance to drop all their items when defeated, instead of just the one you selected. The Trathan Scarab of Renown makes it so the spawned mercenary is covered head to tail in unique items.
Holy.
And the Trathan Scarab of Infamy forces a more powerful, infamous mercenary to spawn, accompanied by 2 other mercenaries for a truly unfair duel. Unfair for them.
Ooh, dang.
There's even a few entirely new mercenary types.
That was like saying,
one of which is
call an
found
ambulance, but
exclusively
not
on the
for me.
seafloor in rare Curse of the Allflame encounters. Sellswords of Trathus won't be
Bro, I
the
want
whole of
his
your problems
shoes,
in
man.
3.29, however, as the denizens of the Lightless are getting some much-needed updates with the modernization and rework of Abyss. When we brought Abyss over
Here we
to
go,
Path
bro.
of Exile
Abyss is
2,
like one of my
Rise of the
favorite
Abyssal,
leagues ever.
some functional changes to the
my
mechanic
favorite
were made
mechanic
to
ever.
improve the gameplay significantly. In Curse of the Allflame, the majority of those changes will be making their way back to Path of Exile 1. The existing Abyss content had some notable problems.
Hell yeah, it
Aside
did.
from being very dated, it also required the player to follow a crack as it opens,
Exactly.
often backtracking throughout already cleared areas.
It was so bad.
Now, as you approach an abyssal pit, and the cracks leading
That's
up to
crazy.
it, you will find that it is already open and spilling forth abyssal energy into the surrounding area, subjugating the souls of enemies
Oh, everything's
unlucky enough to
shaking.
be
Turn
within
off
its
screen
influence.
shake, please.
Slaying these enemies
So, are
will
we,
send those souls spiraling down into the pit, drawing the attention and ire of the minions of Kulamark that dwell beneath.
We gotta farm
Slay enough of
Amanamus
them,
again.
and the Abyssal Legion will spill forth from their domain to tear you apart. The upshot of this rework is twofold. Firstly, there is now much more visceral feedback in the moment-to-moment gameplay of Abyss, with audio and visual cues drawing the player along.
Oh, I hate screen
And
shake.
most
Oh my god,
importantly,
that hurts my
you'll
eyes.
never need to chase a meandering abyssal crack around a map ever again. No
Using
more
Firestorm.
backtracking.
It's not even that strong.
However, be on your guard. The abyssal minions of Kulamark have some different tricks up their sleeves in PoE 1, and many employ entirely different skills to those of their PoE 2 counterparts.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
To be clear, there are still some aspects of the existing abyssal system that we will be keeping. Abyssal jewels and items with abyssal sockets will remain.
Nice.
In
Yeah,
fact,
ghastly eye
we
jewels
have
are
given
so
Abyss a
important.
similar treatment to what we did with Dell fossils in our last release, moving abyssal rewards out of other areas of the game to make Abyss the exclusive source of abyssal jewels and Stygian vices.
Nice, dude.
This will also come with a complete refresh of abyssal scarabs.
Yeah, I'm
and Atlas passive tree
100%
investment,
investing
with some
in
truly
Abyss for my
dangerous
first Atlas.
and wild new ways to take on the lightless hordes.
Like, that seems so fun to
Lastly,
me.
for Abyss, but definitely not least, Abyss is bringing an entirely new endgame pinnacle boss.
New
with
pinnacle
its own
boss,
set
too.
of brand new unique items.
Oh, shit.
This boss has a very unique way of accessing it. What does this eyeball do? Good luck figuring this one out.
Oh,
Let's
snap.
move on to our next league being reworked.
Hey, Legion. I like Legion, too.
Every league should have distinct and interesting rewards that are exclusively available from that mechanic. This allows players to specialize in certain corners of the game, rewarding those who engage with a given mechanic. Legion is next on our list to receive this treatment. Despite having a unique combat mechanic, we felt Legion didn't have interesting exclusive rewards outside of Timeless Jewels.
Yeah, Timeless
While
Jewels.
Incubators were technically exclusive to Legion,
are
they
it.
effectively granted the same rewards that you could get elsewhere. So, what are we doing about it? Firstly, incubators are being removed. No longer will you
Okay.
have to remember to apply incubators to all your equipment every few maps. Instead, we will be adding a new type of reward exclusive to Legion, vestigial unique items.
Oh.
Legion generals and maps will have a chance to drop a new type of currency item, enshrouding crystals. These can be used on your unique armors. You can then take the enshrouded item to the domain of timeless conflict, which might look a little bit different to what you remember. A giant crystal emerges from the center of the domain, and there appears to be some sort of entity trapped inside, potentially the reason that these armies are engaged in eternal conflict. At the base of the crystal are a number of smaller crystals. Clicking on one allows us to place our enshrouded item inside. As we then kill monsters in the domain of timeless conflict, our gloves within the crystal begin to transform. And once you have killed enough, the crystal becomes volatile and looks ready to fracture. I wonder what will come out. Our Shaper's Touch transformed into a Malagero's Virtuosity, but now the Malagero's Virtuosity has a trace of the original enshrouded item bestowed upon it.
Wow,
in the
that's
form of a
very
vestigial
powerful.
implicit
2%
modifier.
increase evasion
As you
rating
can
per
see,
10 intelligence.
enshrouding crystals allow you to transfer powerful modifiers from one unique item onto another. Here are some more examples of vestigial unique items.
That's really
Helmets,
powerful.
Boots,
Movement speed is 150 base.
gloves,
Grants level Doriani's
shields,
touch. Triggers level 20 elemental
and
Aegis.
body armors.
All sockets length.
In addition to vestigial
Interesting.
items, we are also making a number of small improvements to Legion. You no longer need to kill every last monster to begin the Legion encounter. Breaking out all the key monsters, chests, and the majority of monsters will be enough to start the combat automatically. No more cheeky single monster hiding in the corner, preventing your encounter from starting. Legion monsters drop fewer splinters, but in larger stack sizes, resulting in fewer clicks in each encounter. Unrelenting timeless emblems have been removed, with regular timeless emblems absorbing many of their effects,
Okay,
causing
cool.
the domain of timeless conflict to become harder, but more rewarding as you kill monsters.
Yeah, that was annoying having like
Your
tiers.
reward progress in the domain is now tracked by charging up these small purple crystals, rather than flooding your screen with hundreds of reward icons. The rewards are still the same, just not obscuring your screen with symbols. Talismans were introduced back in 2015, but over the years they've been long neglected and lack a meaningful place or purpose. We are making a number of changes to bring talismans back to relevance. Firstly, talismans are now exclusive rewards from Bestiary. Every red beast has a chance to drop a talisman specific to that beast. For example, the Krashik Croaker can drop the Croaker Talisman. What makes these talismans special? Well, you'll notice a couple of changes compared to old talismans.
Plus to levels of all
talismans no
skills.
longer drop corrupted, making them far easier to
Yo,
craft
they're
once you
no
find them.
longer corrupted.
Secondly, the special modifiers on talismans are now enchantments, rather than implicits. This means they compete with blight anointments, allowing their effects to be significantly more powerful than before.
Dang.
Here are a few more examples of new talismans. Talisman unique items have all been improved, and now have a chance to drop from all bestiary bosses. Check out the new Eyes of the Great Wolf talisman, which has some crazy possibilities.
Wow, that +1 to maximum
So
number
that
of
is everything
specters.
covering the new and reworked
Oh,
League
shit.
mechanics in 3.29. Now, that's already quite a lot of endgame content, with mercenaries returning, an upgraded Abyss, Legion's new reward mechanic, and of course, everything the Curse of the Allflame League has to offer. But even with all of that, we're not done. Because what
Not
about
done.
the Atlas itself? Given Zana's actions to try and destroy it in the last two expansions. Zana's actions are causing the Atlas to become ever more destabilized.
Oh my god.
Strange
dude.
locations have begun to manifest on the Atlas, many of which seem to be bleeding over from familiar places in Rayclast. Kerak has labeled these as anomalies. When you complete maps affected by a Voidstone, there is a chance that when you next open your Atlas, an anomaly may manifest. Like this one, the Mana Foyer. Like regular maps on the Atlas, you can select them at your map device, but unlike regular maps, These don't require an item to enter. It looks like this area is the abode of Cadero Perandus. Cadero is willing to offer valuable items in exchange for our gold. If you don't like what is on offer, you can reject it, and he will immediately offer another item. The next offer will cost more gold, but hopefully is much more valuable to you. If you don't have enough gold for the offered
Interesting.
item, don't worry. Cadero is happy to wait for you to replenish your coffers. You can return to the area at any time. The anomaly will not disappear from the Atlas until you either purchase an item or reject all his offers. Anomalies are unique in this regard. Unlike other locations on the Atlas, these areas can often be revisited. Let's quickly run through a few of the anomalies that can manifest. Reflecting Mists and the Nameless Seer no longer randomly spawn within maps, but instead now appear in their own anomaly areas. Scrying is no longer the domain of the Nameless Seer, but instead can be done through the new, tradable Scrying Orb. Some anomalies grant a taste of League mechanics you might not normally run, without having to be fully invested into them. For example, this anomaly creates a random, fully revealed heist blueprint wing, with random rogue companions. This anomaly has a version of the Sacred Grove, where the plants have fully taken over. This strongbox seems to have a strange mechanism. Atlas anomalies are unaffected by your Atlas skill tree, and you can't augment them using any fragments. Therefore, they can be run at any time without feeling like they have to be saved for later to maximize the potential rewards. There are many more Atlas anomalies to discover for yourselves, each of them tied to a specific Atlas quadrant. It is therefore worth discovering which ones can spawn in each part of the Atlas, as it may influence what Atlas strategy you wish to pursue. So that is a heap of new challenges to encounter, from the League and the Endgame. But you may be asking, what new tools do we have to face these challenges? In 3.29, we are giving a bit of love to spellcasters, specifically those that cast spells themselves.
Okay.
But first, let's address the elephant in the room that astute players may have noticed. Yes, I'm talking about those socket colors. So, after the better part of
Oh my
2
God.
decades, in 3.29, we're making a fairly radical change.
Oh my god, guys.
Sockets, at a basic level, don't have colors anymore. You can now put any colored gem into any socket. We're doing this to address a long-running issue for both new and experienced players. I'm sure almost everyone who has played before has run into the issue of finding a notable upgrade and have struggled to find a way to equip it.
Wow.
Maybe you find an amazing body armor, one that would give you a substantial boost to your defenses, but you just can't move your skill or support gems over because the colors of the sockets just don't match, and you didn't luck out with your chromatic orbs. It's not fun when you have to unequip a bunch of skills or supports just to use a better item. This can still happen with the socket numbers and socket links, so it's not like it's just purely
This is
trivial,
crazy, dude.
but the colors were just unnecessary. And not only prevented upgrading gear, it limited build experimentation. So, given that, what do the colors on gems with regards to sockets even now mean? Well, the colors on gems for sockets are still relevant, just as an upgrade system. You can still find items with colored sockets, and you can craft them onto items. They are just rarer and more powerful. Most importantly, they don't restrict what can be socketed into them. So how are they more powerful? Well, if you were to find an item with, say, a green socket, you can put a green gem inside of it to get an additional quality bonus to that gem.
Oh my god.
This allows socket colors to be a purely positive outcome on an item, while not just simplifying the system away. You can also still change the color of sockets on your items using a chromatic orb, which now guarantees at least one red, blue, or green socket. This change will make it easier for everyone to upgrade items and maintain their build, especially while progressing. Speaking of builds and gems, we wanted to make sure we improve some of those, specifically for spellcasters. Let's get into that. Spellcasters have a large number of different skills to choose from, but often many skills play and scale in similar ways. We have done a pass through existing spells, differentiating spell damage types from each other. For example, Shadow's physical spells, like Ethereal Knives and Bladefall, now have a much higher critical strike chance than other spells at the expense of damage.
Wow.
Pure lightning spells now all have generally higher cast speeds, but they cost more mana per second than other spells.
Dude, Arc is
We
about to be
noticed that
busted
some
as
of the
shit.
Ascendancy classes for Shadow, Witch, and Templar were lacking options for general spellcasting, so we've added a new notable to the Assassin, the Occultist, and the Inquisitor. We are also introducing a new skill, Mana Infused Staff, that infuses your staff with arcane energy, raising your block chance and reducing the mana cost of your spells. In addition, when you are hit by an enemy, you retaliate with a wave of arcane lightning,
Wow.
dealing damage based on your maximum mana. One of the struggles we noticed with certain self-cast archetypes was that they lacked a scaling option in the endgame. In 3.29, we're adding a special new set of exceptional skill gems called Pacts. Each pact is themed around a specific Beyond demon and Lycia. You can make a bargain with these demons to empower your spells, but at what cost, you may ask? Well, these spells don't have a typical cost, but instead cause the player to gain a special affliction debuff.
What the fuck?
Don't worry too much though, the rewards will be worth it. For example, Pact of Baydat causes many of your different spells to just cause a ruckus, while Pact of Gore is for dot builds. Using this pact will plague your enemies. Just cast it and watch everything around you melt. I wonder what Pact of Lycia and Pact of Katash do. We won't go into the specifics of all the balance changes we are making here, but there are many more caster improvements, including buffs to specific spells and supports, buffs to caster unique items, as well as more and better ways to solve mana. Check out the patch notes later for all the details. Next up, we're going to be talking about the new supporter packs for Curse of the Allflame.
Dude, that
Today,
gem
we're launching
rework,
two new series of
the
supporter
socket
packs.
colors,
The Plague
that's
and Remedis packs.
like
Each tier
that's
contains
big,
the
man.
pack's
That's
full
huge.
face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic
Dude, that's
and
massive,
do not
bro.
affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Plague series of supporter packs contains
Like,
7 exclusive microtransactions.
You can be a spellcaster that
Equipping
slaps
the
on
Plague weapon
a armored
skin
chest
replaces
piece
the default
and
appearance
not worry
of your
about
staff,
having the right
sword,
blue colors.
mace, or shield, with a weapon that has been submerged in corrosive toxins. The Plague Rat Pet is the result of a nefarious experiment. When a unique enemy is nearby, it faints as a defensive mechanism to protect its fragile body so it can continue to spread disease.
You guys want a rat
The
as a
metal of
pet?
the Plague Bearer armor set has corroded, and the cloth has begun to disintegrate
We're
from
showing
being
supporter
exposed to
packs.
such toxic
This
elements.
is the end of
It
the
includes
reveal.
the Plague Bearer back attachment, which spreads disease across the ground and town areas,
That was-
maximizing the chance of infection. A diseased swarm infects your weapon when using the
I'll
Plague
talk
Bearer
after
weapon
this.
effect. Use it alongside the Erupting Pustule's rare finisher effect to spread vile and devastating disease to monsters you kill. Activating the Plague Wraith map device causes the plagued
That's a
energy
cool
to
ass
flow
map
from a
device.
chained
Holy
being.
shit.
Given the goal of spreading such illness is to
That's
end the
cool.
lives of as many as possible, the map device tracks kills in kind, showing you the number of enemies killed in each map,
That's
sorted
cool.
by rarity. Feel free to even pin the count of enemies slain in a map to the leaderboard at your leisure. Pair it with the Putrefying Portal to fully immerse yourself in the Plague Propagator experience. Both the map device and the portal emit such a potent putrefaction that even the birds flying overhead cannot survive, as they
How much is
plummet to the
900
ground
points?
around.
What is that, like $90, right?
The Remedis Pack series
a lot.
also contains 7 exclusive microtransactions. The Remedis weapon skin changes the appearance of your staff, wand, scepter, or shield, with relics once used by the Order of the Remedis Knights against the Plague. The Medi Roa Pet is kitted out with all the supplies necessary for healing in remote locations. Strangely, These rowers seem to have a particular fondness for goblin
They're
meat.
showing
The
supporter
Remedis
packs,
Knight
so
armor set is
was gonna use
bestowed
a
upon
rest-
those tasked with traveling through
Nah,
Rayclast
I might miss
to purge
something.
the sick of their diseases. The matching back attachment cleanses the disease left behind on the ground in town areas by the Plague Bearer back attachment. It's an important job of a Remedis Knight to not let disease take over. Help by doing your part. The Remedis Knight weapon effect funnels the divine power of purification into your weapon. Return to the Saints' End Monastery hideout to recuperate from your purifying duties. Once a thriving
never
center for
bought a
curing
hideout
ailments,
in Path
this
of Exile.
monastery has slowly wasted away while lying unused. If you're feeling brave enough, there's even a platform to dive into the purifying waters below before washing back up at the base of the hideout. Last, but not least, use the Reservoir of Benediction Affinity Stash to store all of your elixirs. This stash opens to your stash tab with the Flask Affinity set. Additionally, all microtransactions from the supporter packs are available for use in Path of Exile 2. We're
Nice.
looking forward to seeing which of you choose to become the plague and spread disease across Rayclast, or those who wish to fight against it by becoming a Remedis Knight. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, we'll post the full patch notes for Path of Exile, Curse of the Allflame,
Leather buff
at
and
11
spells on
a.m. New
Shine
Zealand
Relic
time,
as a staff
4 p.m.
user.
Pacific.
Yeah, dude.
With release at the end
Yeah.
of next week, our community team will be posting crucial
Like,
information you'll need for the release.
Spells are
Keep an eye
strong,
on the
but
news.
we all tend to like end up using like cast on something in the end because they're so they're not that great like late end game. I mean, let's do all. Okay, so Q&A. I'll be right back. I'm gonna use the restroom.
G'day Exiles, and welcome back for another Q&A for 3.29. We are joined here by, it's a little bit cozier here than usual. We have game director Mark Roberts, along with lead game designers on Path of Exile 1, Octavian and Andrew. And Andrew, welcome. This is your first time joining us on the Q&A. It's good to have you here. You have been on some other podcasts and things in the past before, but it's exciting to have you all here for the podcast. I kind of want to give people a bit of a lay of the land of like what it is that each of you, like Octavian and Andrew, work on for Path of Exile, so people can kind of understand where your expertise lies, maybe.
Yeah, so for Path of Exile 1, I've been working on it for primarily for quite a few years now. And typically I'll dip my hands into everything and related to the expansion. However, in the last few expansions, Chris has been handling the majority of the league stuff, and I typically handle most of the other bits and bobs. So yeah, for example, in this one, things like Mercenary and Legion.
The hell, bro! They got a whole crew on the couch.
Yeah, you certainly did a lot on the balance side of things. It looks like you did 150 skills or something.
When the patch notes come out, you'll see the
Super
changes.
PoE
there,
1 update reset all my settings.
That's a later nuke. So
You'd be alright, bro.
And what about for you, Octavian? What do you kind of focus on for people who are not familiar?
So the last few leagues.
Oh, yeah, I remember these guys.
Mercenaries, Mirage, and now Curse of the Allflame.
They got a bigger couch, too.
Leading the design on the league mechanic itself.
Excuse
and then
me.
basically wherever else I'm needed. So this time around, I did the new Abyss Pinnacle boss. So you can blame me if he kills you.
I will blame
I
you.
did a bunch of new uniques. You know, some transfigured skills that'll be in the patch because that's a pet project of mine. I really like
Oh
transfigured
yeah,
skills.
they didn't
And
show
probably
the
some other stuff
transfigured
I'm
gems.
forgetting. But yeah, I mean,
They said they was gonna
the
add
league
more
this time, it's a
transfigured
chunky one.
gems.
Yeah.
Wonder if they're gonna add anything
that was
for, like-
where I was originally planning on
don't know.
starting, was like talking about Curse of the Allflame, where we collect chat's questions and then dive into some of the other things: Mirage, Abyss, Legion, balanced crafting. There's a lot of things to talk about today, but obviously the biggest news is the socket color change.
Yeah,
That's
dude, the
one
socket
everyone,
color
you know,
change
seems
is-
to want to know about from what I've seen.
That's actually
It's
very strange.
it's a weird one because it's such a long-standing tradition, and
Yeah.
there is like, I felt like the initial like, oh,
They're
I feel
really
like I
trying to
should
get
be
new
mad
players to
or
play
something,
Path of
but
Exile
I was
1.
like, but I'm not. I'm curious, like how did this one come about after being unchanged for so long?
We actually discussed this change on Mirage launch day. So
Okay.
often on just to give some history to it. So on launch day, when there isn't a burning fire,
Nice.
we're all sitting there designing like, okay, what are we doing next? What are we starting on Monday? Like, I know people think we have a long plan ahead. We don't. Launch day is when we design the next set of content. And a thing that we decided is we worry the message now is that PoE 2 is for the new audience and PoE 1's for the existing audience only.
Exactly.
And it is obviously for the existing audience, like obviously.
Exactly. They're trying to get new players,
But we also
man.
want to make sure we're bringing in new players.
Exactly,
And we want to make
bro.
sure that that audience is growing, because if you aren't growing the audience, it's only got one way to go, right?
Right.
Exactly.
That's down. Now, hopefully, you can. It'd be naive to assume it can just sustain the exact same numbers forever with the exact same players, right? People do eventually move on.
Yeah.
Whatever. So we want the audience to grow. And so when we actually go and look, well, when we were discussing this in Mirage, we're like, let's.
So many of the
actually think,
OGs are going
why
to start complaining it's
people
going to be too easy.
you
Well,
know,
fuck them.
getting into the game and then stopping
Suck
playing.
'em. All they
what
do
are
is
the points
complain.
of friction and where we're losing the audience. And sockets is a huge one. Now, we had already discussed this for PoE 2 because PoE 2 removed skilled gems off gear, right?
Yeah.
So
They wanted
we kind of
mercenaries
already were
back.
a
They'll
bit
probably
educated
complain
in this,
about
and we're
that.
like,
They're
but
going
the
to
line
complain
we draw,
about
like, some people are
reworks.
like, why not
They're going to
remove them
complain about
entirely,
everything.
off the gear, like you
They're
did
going to
with
be like,
PoE 2,
oh,
but
spells are too powerful
there
now
are, I
because
would
you
say I
buffed
feel
them.
this way, and a number of people feel this way when first playing PoE 1, or fifth, sixth, whatever, long time ago.
A decade and a half ago.
There were two things about the game that really caught me and my group of friends and propagated along, and maybe you guys feel the same way, I'm not sure.
But I feel like this
which
guy
was-
right here, bro.
I opened the passive tree and fell in love. And I also was like,
He's been
holy,
working
skills are
overtime,
in your
dog.
gear and the links are in your gear. That is like, that's awesome. That's so, the innovation behind that is so cool. So
Bro's been working
not wanting to
overtime.
lose the skills and sockets in gear in PoE 1, I think is, you know, it's a personal line, sure, but I think a lot of people share it, of not wanting to lose that entirely, but also it doesn't need to be so having so many layers of friction. And so obviously you got the numbers, you got the links, and then you got the colors. And often what we're finding is that, sure, seasoned players, veterans, they work around it, sure. But or honestly, they
Is
don't
that a
even necessarily.
Yu-Gi-Oh
I talk
shirt?
about the gear upgrades. They don't even. Sometimes you don't even need the gear upgrades. You know, you can just
Nah,
once you know
that's-
what you're
that
doing, you
can't
know
be
what
a
you're
Yu-Gi-Oh
doing.
shirt. He can't be wearing a Yu-Gi-Oh shirt
But
on
yeah,
a
we're finding a
PoE
lot of players
reveal.
early game who are struggling,
way.
who are trying to get those gear upgrades, just can't, and often it's because of the colors.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, we want to remove that friction, but also we don't want to just like simplify it down to nothing, because we still want in-game players to have an access of itemization that's important. And so we're like, we still want the colors to come in.
We still want it to be important for upgrading your gear. We want it to be a chase endgame thing players
Dude,
can
that's
do.
so lit, bro.
And we honestly think that this
The
hits both of those,
campaign,
and
like, it was so
now
annoying not
allows a lot of
having
people to get into
the
game
right
easier,
currency to change the
make
colors.
upgrades of their gear
Now you
without
just
going,
slap on anything.
I don't know what to do. Like, my gear's been the same since level 3 because I
Exactly.
can't replace this or like one piece of gear or another piece of gear. And because they don't want to break their links or their skills or their support. So yeah, honestly, that's where it came about. And but the broader discussion is like, we need to get people in the door. We need to get people to stop quitting. And we need to have like when they get overwhelmed and they're like, I don't know what to do. It feels complicated, and this was part of that. So, you know, I wouldn't expect this to be the last change along that axis of us going. Let's remove these barriers of entry. You know,
Always
in the
so
future we
weak
wanna
during
make more, but yeah,
campaigns because
honestly,
the
I think,
links aren't the right
you know,
color.
generally speaking, almost everyone internally has been pretty positive. But
So I use like level
everyone has
5s
that,
instead of level 25s. Yeah, I know what you
whoa,
mean.
you're changing this sacred thing.
Yeah, a lot of gear I use is like
even
really
when-
low level
When we're in the
because
room, we're like,
I can't
Are we
fit the
doing
right
this? Are we allowed
color
to do
gems
this?
in.
what, do we need to, you know, like, hold on, do we need to like call a council of the founders here? Like, do we, what are we supposed to do here? Like,
Yeah, now you can
can
just
we make
slap
this
on-
change?
Basically did happen.
You
like,
could just constantly
you just
upgrade
called
your
around to
gear and
somebody.
not worry about
Well,
anything.
People
yes,
would
we
be like,
did, yes. So it was, even we were like, are we allowed? But then also I think it is really important that we can reassess these fundamentals and actually go and say, no, this needs to change. Now, hopefully it's amazing, and hopefully everyone finds it to have less friction and late game get better itemization and all of that. But you know, these things, if they don't quite land, we're always just going to make another iteration and change it. That's what we do.
I was like, so I've done a playthrough of the campaign while here, and I with this in particular, because I had that feeling like, oh, it's so sacred and so ancient. I feel like I was coming at it from an angle of being hypercritical, looking for any potential issues with it, but it felt like it was just so much easier to change gear and swap my gear around. Like, ultimately, that's the thing. You talk about this for a lot for new players, but I see this as like a huge win for long-term players, because playing a game for over a decade, you start to notice these kind of points of exhaustion is kind of what I think of them as, where
True.
you're like, oh, this just grinds me down a little bit each
Oh,
league.
that is something I did. It was intended for a newer audience, but 100% all the
Yeah.
feedback from Alpha, from internal, you know, our designers and QA generally has been like, hell yeah.
It just makes
So-
the campaign smoother. I'm using a greater variety of gear. I'm upgrading my gear more often. It feels good. And the quality one surprised me a bit, because that is actually like pretty... You don't usually interact with quality at all in the campaign. You're not going to get any GCPs until endgame, right? But that... I was actually kind of looking at the quality on my gems, and you know, I was like, oh, this really benefits from that. I'm getting an extra spark on my spark while I'm leveling, and you know, that felt like actually a pretty fun thing to engage with, and getting one socket color here and there felt like a meaningful thing. So
It worked out really nicely as an axis for still rewarding getting, you know, some of the correct colors.
Yeah.
Because quality innately is much more powerful on your active skill than it is your support gem.
Yeah.
So it's kind of okay if you only have a few of the colors, because you put your strongest skill in the...
Yeah,
in the
dude,
you put
having
your strongest gen in
added
your links, which is
quality
your active
is
skill,
about to be
into the color
busted
that
as
it
shit for
matches.
certain
And then
skills,
it's nice
man.
to get the other colors correct, but you know, getting the other
And it
colors
was like, what,
correct is like
10%,
5%
right?
increased
Like,
damage, whereas getting
that's
the
shit
one color
crazy.
you really need correct, which is quite easy to do, is, you know, potentially an extra projectile or 10% more damage or something
exactly.
like that.
yeah, every
An
time
extra
I dropped, I
projectile.
was like looking for a good base to drop that on, so that I could, you know, chuck my spark gem or something else in there.
It has the added bonus of there's another currency that's like, you know, it's not like a divine orb level ding when you drop it, but it's nice to see. You know, you're excited to see a chromatic now and then.
Yeah, it was kind of
Which
funny
is
that
cool.
like chromatic went from being like less valuable than, you know, jewelers and fusings to being the most value out of those now.
Yeah, just to clarify, chromatics are much rarer now than they were before.
Yes.
I won't say exactly how rare they are, but
Oh.
we've made changes to,
They're
like,
rare?
for example, if you vendor a 6-socket item that has
Interesting.
chromatic colors, you won't get
was
7 jeweler orbs, you'll get a chromatic orb instead.
Oh, I was wondering if there was some sort of recipe. I thought you guys might keep it secret or something.
Oh no, that's the existing chromatic recipe. That still works.
Okay.
But it has higher
Holy
priority
shit,
than
this
the
new
jeweler
update in
one.
PoE
list of
1 right now,
recipes
they
that meets
added
two
has
conditions.
terrible
There's always
lag.
one that has an order of precedence, so we moved the chromatic above the
Because it's more
jewelers.
valuable
Yes,
now. I see, that makes sense. Did you guys have to mess with quality at all now that there's going to be kind of 30% is just going to be somewhat wildly available now? Like, does that break anything?
No, it is basically a bit power creepy, but
Yeah.
I think we had to make a number of changes to existing uniques that interacted with socket colors, but I think the only one that really got a nerf was Diala's Malefaction. Instead of granting 30% quality to green socket gems, it's now 20%.
Okay.
But if you put a green socket gem in, it's 30%, which is what it had before. So.
And that's my follow-up question is there's uniques that interact with socket colors. Have these sorts of things been updated? In particular, I was like wondering, like, do you guys do anything with Tabula Rasa or just kind of leave it, I imagine? I don't know.
It didn't need to change.
Yeah, I mean, that
It's
kind of just works, doesn't
Six
it?
link, still a six link, yeah.
Still 6-link.
Yeah, but Skin of the Loyal and Lords, they just generate with 6 coloured sockets.
Yep.
So you still want to get the right colours, but
Yeah, but it's much easier to actually use them now.
what else did you do? Pariah.
Yeah, so we audited all of them. Some of them we were like, this is not a good unique, we should buff it. So Pariah, for example, is one that is now much stronger than it used to be. Yeah, there's subtle changes, but in general, like the design of the uniques didn't really need to change at all, like Triad Grip and the Untouched Soul, those type of things.
I just realized this makes like a favorite thing for me is like early league buying like a corrupted 6-link and finding the right colors for that was sometimes tricky, but now like you can use any.
Oh yeah, he's
you can
right,
put
bro.
a blue
Sometimes you
gem in a
get
green socket,
corrupted
you just don't
gear
get the
drops.
Yeah, Skin of the
And it
Loyal
doesn't have the
early
right
league is gonna be
sockets.
far more accessible.
Socket
now.
colors or
cool.
the right links and stuff.
Interesting.
You can
So
just slap on your
It inadvertently kind of
skills
makes
on there
6-links
now.
much more available early league. It seems it's like something maybe you wouldn't even really think about with this, but there you go.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. I
totally forgot about that.
Volbs did a thing with sockets, so I imagine that changed, right?
Well, to clarify, when you do get a socket color, so for example, if you're using like a strength base type, you still have, when a socket generates, it's still got a much higher chance to be a red socket compared to a blue or green socket. So
Yeah.
it still rolls socket colors based on the attribute requirements. Now, a Valor does what it used to do before, where when it's generating socket colors, it can still re-roll socket colors.
Yeah.
I think instead of granting white sockets, now it does the inverse and it grants a colored socket.
Yeah, so I was
but that colored socket will just be a random red, green or blue. It won't care about the attribute requirements of the item.
So a way to get off colors or something, maybe. Interesting. I imagine the crafting bench probably changed. But then again, with chromes being more expensive, maybe it didn't need to.
So a chromatic orb guarantees a colored socket, but we also have crafting bench options which guarantee 2 colored sockets and guarantee 3 colored sockets. But for varying amounts of chromatic orbs. I can't remember the exact
And
numbers.
now that they're going to be much more valuable as well, that makes sense. It almost kind of solves itself.
All right,
there.
boys, we are
Super
farming
interesting.
chromatic
I look forward
orbs.
to
League
seeing how
start.
people feel
We're
about
gonna be
that after
stacking
they've had a
chromatic
chance to play
orbs.
around with it.
And
So I'm positive.
we're just going
My
to be
impressions
selling
have
it,
been pretty
man.
positive so far.
Mm-hmm.
You come to LugoHQ, you
If
need a
anything, like, I guess if there's
I
any
can't even
negative
say
I
it,
could probably
chromatic
nitpick
orb.
about it, it seems that maybe like it
Let me
removes some
get
of the
your
identity
chaos, let
from
me get your
those
divines.
items, mostly more in the campaign where you're not seeing their colors come up all that often. So like armor, energy shield thing is not necessarily as distinct from an invasion thing since you can change them around a lot more. Was that something you guys were worried about at all with this?
Not really.
You think so? They
A
get
little
enough of
bit.
their identity
I
from
understand
the
that it is, especially from the visuals.
Yeah.
But like the item holds itself, you know,
Yeah.
and with respect to its defense type, its mods. But yeah, I mean,
But
I
yeah,
get that.
I will
Almost
probably
everyone are just
go
thinking
into
about it now.
Abyss right off the bat, dude. Like Abyss
I play
seems
with sockets
it's about to
always
be
shown.
super fun. You just
I
kill
don't think I've
enemies,
seen
collect
anyone
that
in a long time not play
coffers,
with sockets
you're
always
good to
shown.
go,
So
bro.
I was just thinking that, like, generally when you're looking at an item, in fact, you're not really seeing its item art. You're just seeing some combination of colors. So yeah, generally you're going to be like, hey, this doesn't look like how it used to look. But I would honestly say that that doesn't need to be part of it. So it shouldn't need to be part of its identity.
Nice.
Even though I get that it will feel that way for sure.
Well, I know this was the main change for this expansion, but on the side, in your spare time between working on socket colors, obviously you made this thing called Curse of the Orflame. This is a pretty unique and I think delightfully
really don't
goofy
know how to
mechanic. It's
feel about the league
it's
mechanic.
It's definitely a weird one.
I really do not know how to
it's
feel
still
about
a
it.
bit moist, but then that seems to be oversimplifying it a little bit. Because it's also got a little bit of a blend of other ideas and definitely seems to very much be its own thing. I'm curious, how did this idea for this like Subnautican League come about?
You know what? Strangely, It actually didn't even start from the point of we should go to the ocean floor. What I wanted was a league where, you know, you're exploring in similar sort of to the Wildwood, because I like that mechanic, but like a league mechanic where you're exploring and trying to uncover things as you go. And it was originally going to be, I believe, like bestiary adjacent, where it was going to be in like the spirit realm where all the bestiary bosses are and you're like clearing spirit fog. But that was not a thing that we had nearly the assets to be able to pull off nearly as well as like an ocean themed league, because you can, you know, go look at half the monsters in the game that pre-existed and they're on the coast or they're near the shore or they're on an island, and therefore, you know, it's crabs and horrible squid creatures and starfish and all that. And so it just made a lot more sense to go with an ocean themed league. And from there, everything just kind of exploded into being.
Yeah, a lot of that also inspiring. It, like, the same mechanic can often be applied to many different themes in different ways, and so a huge part of the win there is talking about ocean biome assets, creatures. Well, we had just done Act 4, right? You know, so, and PoE 2, so all of a sudden we have islands and sea creatures and everything there, and it's like, okay, well, we like to reuse stuff and port it back and use so we get to use all the modern art. The other thing is the environment artists are familiar with those assets, so when they're trying to put together all these things, they know exactly, and the level designers, they know exactly where everything is. Makes it way easier, and then you don't have to like look through and find 13-year-old assets and stuff trying to go like, okay, how can I reuse this? And then, yeah, it's nice to have full art sets of modern art, because when you mix old things that aren't what we call PBR and non-PBR, when you have the old PoE 1 assets intermixed with the new modern assets, they stick out like a absolute sore thumb. So yeah, going in, obviously, it's when you're picking a theme, it's often good to look, what art do we have? How can we use that or reuse that? Because then you get to make a hell of a lot more content for significantly less cost. So that's kind of what helped inspire it, because we also like, oh, I was like, and he doesn't necessarily know what's being made for PoE 2, and that's like where I'm kind of the bridge, and I'm like,
yeah, because you're fully on PoE 1.
Yes.
Yep.
and he's like, well, what monsters? And I'm like, oh, well, let me give you that. And I was just like, massive list. I'm like, go to this area, go to this area, go to this area, go to any of these will work. Big starfish and all that stuff, and so
Sea otters.
yeah.
Yes, I love otters. So,
Yeah,
The otters
so,
definitely caught me by surprise.
we had a task that we hadn't finished called Demon Otter.
Yep. Yeah. You didn't even point me at that. I went and found that one.
Yeah.
I felt slightly bad blowing up the otters. They're kind of cute.
Well, you
Little-
can get one as a pet from the upcoming mystery
There you
box.
go.
I feel like I'm like, how did you find that? Are you just going into our issue tracker and typing otter every 3 days and like waiting for something to appear? It's like,
I refresh the issue tracker at the start of each day because I'm curious what's being worked on, and I saw otter like years ago,
Control F otter.
and it stuck in my head.
He's just got a script that just checks for him every day and alerts him, pings in the moment it goes in.
Hundreds of these things getting made per day. It's like kind of to just know to search for that is like really weird. So I don't know. I'm sus.
So, I mean, so you had some assets for it, but also like if you'd done the Wildwood Einhari sort of thing, that sounds cool, but it wouldn't have been quite as unique as this. I think like. I don't think we haven't had this like exploring the ocean floor thing before.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Is this a real boat league?
I was wondering, yeah, because like you go into a boat, but we're not like what makes a boat league? Does it just have to have a boat in it? Because that's a pretty low bar.
You have to be at ocean. Do you have to be
Fighting on-
I think some people draw the line at sailing. I think it has to be moving. I think you have to. I think they
Fishing?
They would say. Hold on,
We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, you're rolling.
I think that a true boat league to some people is one that must induce seasickness.
That's,
As in with like
that's your line.
screen wobble and like.
That is not what I thought you would
We
say.
have not done that this week. To be clear.
Thank you for not doing that. I feel like the true boat league has to have combat on a boat. We're gonna have some boarding actions or something, like some boat to boat cannons and
Noted.
blowing up.
Third axis, yeah.
Isn't it a town area? I guess you can't like spawn specters or anything. And
In the Deepwater hub. Sorry, Deepwater was the working name. In the Curse of the All-Flame hub area on the Sovereign.
You
is
can
the
drop
name of the
items
ship.
on the floor on the boat.
It
so,
is technically a combat area, so you could,
in theory,
spawn specters there if you wanted to.
Shoot projectiles out to sea.
I guess you can.
I guess.
Sorry, it was mentioned though, like does this also count? The same question could be asked of fishing. Does this count as fishing if you're on the ocean floor killing fish? Does that count as fishing? And does this tread on the toes of the existing fishing mechanics, obviously, as well? You would have had to have considered that. Did you confer with the fishing team when you were?
I think that going down and killing fish is not fishing. I think that's...
But what if you're holding a spear, though? Oh, but we don't have spears, so it doesn't matter.
Perfect. Problem solved. So you're basically saying like dynamite fishing doesn't count as fishing then, for sure. It's 100% cheating.
It is important for us to clear up this because, like, we need to always be just almost delivering boat leagues, but not quite delivering boat leagues. So I just wanted to make sure we succeeded in our goals here.
There's this like grand plot of stringing along the PoE community for as long as possible for a boat league. Like,
That's true. When I pitched the retheme, Mark was very cautious. You know,
like, oh, we don't want to give him too much. We got to keep him coming back for the next potential boat league. I see what's going on here.
Yeah, it's like there's this tick box of league must have boat, and then indented boat must not move. You know.
Okay.
No. All right. Anyway.
Anyway, so this is a pretty big change from Mirage, which was in map and heavily intersected with like all of the existing mechanics. This is the complete opposite. This is a mostly out of map mechanic, and it's not required for you to understand how it intersects with other mechanics. Is it? I imagine there's like a good reason to kind of like alternate between the two almost as well.
Yeah. So one of the benefits of Curse of the Allflame is that it's a very straightforward theme to understand. It's something that, you know, you don't really need to have a lot of grounding in the all of the minutia of Path of Exile to be able to understand, ooh, go to ocean floor and find treasure in a submersible. That's just a cool concept, whether you are, you know, a PoE veteran or not. And
now Filterblade changed your
it's
UI.
also just kind of me liking to jump between things and work on very different concepts. Like, you know, I can't say any specifics, but we already do have a
I
very
regret
rough plan
12
for
months
what
to sub to
3.30 will
this
be,
washed
and
up stream.
it's going to go in a completely different direction as well.
Well,
So,
Vito, thanks for the sub, man.
I just have a lot of ideas that go all over the place, and I
Good.
Not even sub alert, absolute cringe,
We
bro.
like to alternate these things, right?
Yeah.
Like
I've only turned
out
off
of
sub
league,
alert
out
for
of
you.
Map, leagues are, you know, they have room to be a bit more immersive. They have there's a whole world there.
Yeah.
You know, integrating things into map constrains what they can be. Right?
Yeah.
Like having a pocket of ocean in a desert gets a bit weird, you know, like, so certain things can work, certain things can't. I mean, in the same sense that kind of having a desert as Mirage in an oceany biome can feel more like a forest biome can feel a bit weird, you know, like, it allows you to create a more, immersive world, submersive world.
I see what you did.
Submersive, immersive. I don't know. I'm silly.
There are some lessons that have been taken from previous like out of league mechanics, where obviously the biggest one is that the Atlas tree is this method of investment that can, you know, lead to in Atlas content being able to be juiced to the gills, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we need a system that's, you know, at least in, what's the word I'm looking for here, in analog to that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the voyage system, which we can get into in specifics a little bit later, but it's got multiple axes through which you can juice the content that you're doing to get, you know, some quite rewarding voyages. And it's kind of meant to be the one-to-one allegory to that. Analog.
Yes. Yeah. That was going to be one of my follow-up questions is because you have so many like axes to juice things in maps, how do you
adding WASDA?
make sure that something like this has like a nice long tail to it? That is something you can get as invested in. So this has like some nice ways for you to be able to juice it.
And I mean, one of the other things is we have much more gradation in the level scaling. This is maybe getting too into the weeds, but like the mods that can roll on charts.
Yeah.
There's a whole tier of the highest tier of rewarding mods that can only show up on I-83, I-84 charts.
Oh, okay, cool.
So if you are at the end game, then you get access to like even more rewarding, you know, both charting and voyaging. And then there's some border mods that can only roll at the super high levels as well. And then, you know, those border mods can amplify with the chart mods, can amplify with the adjacency mods, can amplifay with the chart locations, which I'm getting too into the weeds now because we haven't really discussed any of that. But I like, you know, I'm a PoE 1 player at heart. I like lots of axes that all intersect and overlap and turn into a crazy encounter.
Yep. And when you make something like this that is out of maps, there is like, I feel like you guys expect and fully kind of know ahead of time that, oh, this is going to be more divisive than something that is in maps typically, right? Like this is something that is for the players that are going to love it, is kind of the way that I view it. It's like some people are going to be like, oh, this is my life now, like the people who just delve every league. So I imagine then, how does that kind of like shape the design of this? Like, I imagine you're like able to take more risks or something with it, be a bit more crazy with it to try and suit that?
I wouldn't say necessarily. Honestly, the way it generally comes apart is we're just like, that sounds like a cool idea, let's go with it. We don't really even think about the like overall risk and reward. Like we just imagine a lot of like, we would enjoy it. We imagine a lot of people would enjoy it. And yes, we definitely understand it's going to be more divisive. And that's why we make sure we alternate these types of leagues, or at least we thoroughly try to. And as said, 330 will be an in-area mechanic in map.
One of the other things that I'm definitely making sure is the case in 330 is there will not be a loading screen to do the league mechanic. I like Mirage, I like All Flame, but they have both now, to go to the hub area for All Flame, you need a loading screen because obviously it's out of map. And then Mirage needed one too, which was unfortunate.
To be clear, charts are fully tradable.
Yep.
You don't have to run them, you just stockpile them. Right, and then go, like you can do days of mapping and then go do days of charting. The crafting system's kind of crazy, powerful.
But we won't be nerfing it.
A way that it can be thought about as you get in Hinakora's locks.
Yes.
Why do you have to put it like that? You make me nervous.
Because that's what it is. So there is a very, very strong motivation to do it. And hopefully people were like, hell yeah, feels good doing it because of that. But we like to, even when we do out of area,
Can you sell
it's not
the
like you find
currency
it, you have to do
though?
it. You can
Like,
find
can
it,
you sell
run
the
it later at your
souls
leisure, right?
that are
So
used to
you don't have
craft?
to break your mapping flow all the time.
Because if you can do that, you could
Yeah.
just
Get the chart,
farm
move
the
on,
currency and just sell
and
the
then maybe start
currency.
the next day with,
And people are
going
gonna
to
use that to
do a bunch of
craft.
voyages, right? Like
Yep.
that's fully at
Like
your
how
leisure.
people are
You can,
using
and that's
the
generally how
plants
people play, and it's generally how I play. Alpha, we're seeing the same thing. It's like just
for harvest.
the
you have
harvest
those
people who might want to chart as they find
could
them.
just
You might have people who are like, okay, get to end of Act 1,
farm
do a bunch,
the
just
juice
talk about
for
campaign.
the souls.
And having the freedom to be
Sell
able to do
that
all
to
of that
people who want to craft.
is pretty critical for the out of area leagues, I'd say.
Yeah, it seems like it's very free for you to determine your flow about how you engage with this. And for the map blasters then who maybe like, oh, I don't really want to go do the charting and stuff too much, it has something for you in maps as well. Like I think that's easy to miss.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the bulk of the mechanic is the undersea exploration, but there are 3 different encounters you can find in maps that are what grant the charts.
Yep.
And importantly, I wanted each of them to feel like they were, worth.
I'm just
engaging with,
excited
even if
for
you
the
didn't
new
want the chart.
Abyss, man. It's not new, it's in
there's the
PoE
Cursed
2,
Treasure Chest,
but
which we
it's
showed in the
new
live
in
stream,
PoE
that
1
possesses you with a random
gameplay.
tormented spirit
That's
when
fun.
you complete it.
That's a fun one.
That's going
I
to be
like that.
super fun. And a new pinnacle.
There's a Brine Rot Pirate one, and when you complete that, you get a buff that gives you a chance for any gold you find for the rest of the instance to be duplicated when it drops. And there's the Crab Nest, and when you defeat the Crab Nest, whenever you kill rare and unique monsters for the rest of the instance, you spawn crabs.
You spawn crabs.
Which may not sound useful, but it's very good in Beyond maps.
It's a bunch of extra crabs popping out as you do it. And I mean, more monsters popping out of monsters is definitely some people's jam for sure.
Interesting.
Crabs.
Lots of crabs.
Oh man, there's a crab themed unique that we're going to show host in a teaser that I'm really excited for people to see.
Bro, he's just spoiling shit.
I'm sorry, I'm just baiting people by bringing that up. It'll be soon.
He's
What's this
just
thing? I gotta make sure
spoiling,
to
bro.
Equip the crab.
He has to calm
set
down.
When we play this league.
Oh yeah,
That's my-
for
He
sure.
just
It's gotta-
spoiled
it's
like
gotta be
4
done.
things.
Yeah, I saw some pretty cool looking uniques there, but we can leave those for your teasers and stuff
Sure.
because
Exactly.
you're definitely pushing what uniques can be in Path of Exile 1, I think, a bit, which is exciting to see. But you mentioned this like the crafting system. How does the reward structure for this mechanic works outside of maps in the actual charting and voyaging? Do certain charts have like certain reward types? Are you able to target farm specific things?
So again, this is another point where I wanted to make sure there were multiple axes. So there's the Dead Man's Sulfur, which is the coral green glowing stuff that's in every single chart and voyage that you do.
Yep.
And that's the fuel for powering the new crafting system. And that is fully tradable. So that's like the baseline. This mechanic just rewards this all the time. And then there are special charts that you can find that lead to special things on the ocean floor that can give, any number of, arbitrary rewards, whatever we decide. So there's one that just has tons of chests of currency, which I'm sure people will like. There's one that spawns, as you saw in the live stream, a new kind of mercenary that you can only get from that room. There's one that leads to the, the new boss of the league. There's probably a bunch that I'm forgetting. There's a dozen to 2 dozen of those at least, and we do have some that might not make it into the patch, and we would put in a week later if they don't. So there might even be more coming soon after launch. And then the third thing is there's what we call a scattered object system in the league, and this is why I'm personally really excited to play, because it scatters a bunch of predetermined random rewards, like chests of currency or a chest with a unique, or the message in a bottle that we showed on the stream that you open and it just gives you some random valuable unique, or potentially I think a reflecting mist is what we showed. Essences, strong boxes, golden lanterns that give you permanent rarity for the rest of the instance, tons of stuff. We tried to get dozens of outcomes in there, and those are just scattered on the ocean floor, and they give you the feeling of exploring to try and find stuff. You're not going completely blind though. Every lantern that you place has a little indicator on it, and that indicator will point towards the nearest scattered object, nearest reward you might want. So you know where to go to place the next lantern to find a treasure chest or whatever it might be.
Yep. Yeah.
Something different to say the Wildwood, where you just go, I'm going that way.
Yeah.
This one at least gives you a guidance to go, I'm going to find something if I go over here.
Yeah. Now you don't know what the something is necessarily. It could be an essence monster or a strong box or a chest with a unique in it, but it will be something that you would want. It doesn't. Technically, there are also mines on the seafloor that explode when you step on them. They're not very frequent. The lanterns don't point at those.
Okay. You're not getting fully baited.
I thought that's what you were getting. I was like, they better not point at those.
Yeah, you're implying there's some sort of reward to get.
No.
Yes, some sort of reward, sweet release.
As again, the comparison to Wildwood there is that it ensures a minimum. You're getting something out of it. As long as you follow it, as opposed to like placement of lanterns, you're like, I just RNG'd and got nothing.
I mean, for me, it's the most addicting part of the league. Like, I love going in and, you can do a chart in like a minute, maybe 2, depending on how fast your build is.
They're really fast.
They're quite quick.
Yeah.
And so you go in, you find 2-3 chests, and then you rush back out, and you do it again, and then suddenly an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours has gone by.
Yeah, and I very much noted and appreciated that you did the week 1 quality of life patch before release with the auto placing of lanterns if you want. So you can manually place them, or you can just run into the water and it
that was done months ago. That was done well before release.
We're trying to do that though every league. Like always think, okay, what are people going to ask for on day 1, day 2, day 3, or week 1? What do they need? And like, let's get ahead of it and do it now. We don't catch everything, but
yeah, you can't do an extent, can you? Yes, but you're definitely getting better at that, though. Has it been a bit tricky to kind of get the feel of this right? Like, so you've got this thing where you're like pushing these lanterns out, and then you've got the bubble collapsing thing for the extraction as well. Like, it seems like a challenging thing to kind of get the feel for that right.
Yeah, I mean, it's had a lot of iteration. The collapsing part, I do want to specify because, it's something that comes up a lot in conversations I've had with, journalists and people at the office and all that. The lanterns will never start just randomly collapsing on you. Like,
yes.
You know when they are going to begin to collapse, because they only begin to collapse after you place your last lantern.
Yeah, it's not like flares and delve.
Yeah.
Like,
So
that's
you have,
distinction.
You have infinite time to explore the areas that you've placed lanterns in until you place your last one, and then you have to get back to the bathysphere.
Yeah, and it's not really like a rush clear speedy mechanic ultimately. Like you can do it fast. You can go fast, but it's not like
like I said, people on alpha generally are doing a chart in like a minute or less.
But
pretty forgiving.
Yeah.
Which it kind of has to be, right? Like if it is if it's overwhelming for any of us, we've probably got the balance wrong, because someone's going to come into the game and just be like, I don't know what to do. Like, it is a thing where, rewatching the live stream, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see people being worried about just drowning all the time.
No.
And
Drowning is not meant to be a significant part of the mechanic. if you're dying in the all flame,
I feel like this is kind of scary for anyone who plays hardcore.
and not to drowning.
Imagine
and
your
that is
character
generally
dies
the case whenever
because you
I've
drown.
died when playtesting, and also when I've seen players playing.
You
on
lose
alpha
your
and stuff.
character because he drowned.
Drowning is really it really only ever happens if you are being like playing real dangerous and like trying to go out far into the water to try and get a chest or something, which is part of why we have those lanterns pointing at things, so you know where to place the lantern to get the chest, in order so you don't have to be trying to do like rippy dangerous stuff by going out into the water a whole ton.
You'd have to have
Imagine
a
if you
serious
die
panic.
in real, if you drown,
to drown is what my perception.
it just
when
like,
I'm like,
it
how would
floods
someone
your
drown to this?
hardware
But,
with water,
it will happen, I'm sure, but I
and
think
like your
you'd-
computer or console just
You'd have to be having
dies.
a little miniature crisis in order to have that happen, I'd say.
I feel like you'll do it once and then you'll learn from it. But if you're a hardcore player,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
only
you'll lose
drowned.
one character and then
I only drowned once, and I was like, that was a bit silly. I won't do that again. That seems like something to learn from. There seems like there could be a bit of a risk of backtracking with this. Like, people don't really, enjoy long backtracking. But I noticed with the charts, you can kind of a lot of the time you're placing your things in a circle, so you're not really backtracking so much. You end up where you started anyway. But with the voyages, there might be some backtracking, or maybe not, depending.
So I feel I don't want to sound like I'm overemphasizing this too much, but the charts are quite small.
Yes.
Like by the time you've placed all, you get 7 lanterns once you upgrade your lantern count. By the time you've placed all 7 lanterns, you are maybe a couple screens away from where you started, maybe a little bit further than that if you go out in a full straight line. So the charts are meant to be like really bite-sized encounters. So like there is technically a small amount of backtracking there, but that is with monsters spawning as you're going back, and it's a couple screens worth.
There's a big difference between combatless backtracking and just...
Yeah, you're fighting monsters as the bubbles are collapsing around you. It's like it's an actual kind of exciting gameplay thing, and it's not even necessarily always the case. I noticed, because in the Voyage sometimes you're extracting basically where you are as you're leaving.
Yeah, so the voyages, they're built out of 9 different charts that you kind of stitch together, and each of them at their center has a place where you can leave. So you don't have to backtrack to where you started in a voyage. That would be insane and terrible. You get to leave at each of these individual chart locations, and like I said, the charts are relatively bite-sized, so that means you're never really more than, say, a screen and a half distance away from a place where you could leave when you want to go.
Yeah. Awesome. So this all flame crafting, how did you arrive at giving players like 4 Hinokora locks per craft as your crafting system for this league?
Well, actually, originally it was going to be similar. I want to say similar to Harvest. I don't want players to interpret that as like, similar in power level. It may or may not be. But I mean similar mechanically, as in list of specific bespoke crafts that you can do for list of specific costs of that craft.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is it was just too similar to things we've done in the past. It is essentially Harvest, but wet. And that's not, we had actually gotten relatively far along in the development of that. And I was just like, this is lame. We shouldn't do the same thing again.
Yeah.
And so, the idea for the all flame crafting splitting into different forms came from the fact that originally we were using the terms all flame and ghost flame kind of interchangeably in development, and ghost stuff gave me the idea of what if you split into multiple ghostly versions of the item, and what would that mean?
Okay, all right.
So it kind of came theme first, mechanic second.
It's thematically real cool. Yeah, I remember when you came to me and you're like, yeah, this crafting system sucks, we need a new one, and then you had a pitch, and I was like, this is a good thing. Like, some people get very caught up in their original designs and just try and see it through no matter what, and you just you go down into a vortex.
You're in too deep,
and you're like, loss aversion kicks in, and like, to be able to, as a designer, to be able to just be like, nah, gone, starting again, even if you're like 3/4 into the cycle, if that's what's best, that's what's best, and most people fail at being able to do this, so it's like,
nice.
When you came to me for that, I was like, wow, okay, this is cool. I'm happy.
I did feel bad telling our lead programmer for the league, Jeremy, that your work, we're actually going to be changing it. Though a good amount of the infrastructure was able to be kept, because it is still UI-wise very similar, where you like put in item, click craft to go. It just changed to now you also put in a currency with the item that you want to use it on. or use on it.
So the main part of it is this splitting, so that you can use an exalt or something, and then see 3 or 4 different potentials for that, and then choose your best one. And that's obviously very powerful, especially for some of the bigger grubs. The intangibility system is kind of the counterpoint to that, like some sort of limitation on that. How does that work exactly?
Yeah, so not every single crafting step, but many of the crafting steps you can do, for example, in Exalt, will add some amount of what we call intangibility to an item. And it's just a value that will be shown on the item and ticks up. And the intangibility in the item is equal to a chance when you do another all flame craft on that item for it to only have 1 result, which effectively means you just did the craft with no extra bonus. So basically, what it boils down to is the more you all flame craft on one specific base, one specific item, the more and more and more difficult it becomes to continue to all flame craft on that item. And there are some ways around this that clever people in QA and Alpha have found, that things like recombination, because if you take the mod you're trying to chase on the base that has high intangibility and you put it onto a new base that doesn't have that intangibility, now you can keep going, but there's some risk in that at least.
He's just like spilling
Awakener's Orbs
secrets,
do a
bro.
similar thing where it's creating an entirely new base as the output. And there's also a
He
Ducat,
just keeps spilling
which is
secrets
the new
instead of
currencies
having
that
the
we've added
players
that
figure
interact
that
only with
out.
all flame crafting, that has a 50% chance to remove all your intangibility and a 50% chance to destroy your item.
Gotta have it.
Gambling is fun.
Yep. I guess
wonder
on
if
that
they're gonna
note, the
tell him,
gambling
like,
side of
hey,
things,
bro,
it seems like
chill
the
out.
Valor won't work with this.
No, it does not.
What's the reason for that?
I remember him doing
It's
that
both
last
a case
week. Yeah,
of
he
balance
can't.
because it's
He
one of the
can't.
ones that would be
Can't control himself.
most insanely strong.
Like
We've
this
tried
other
to limit
dude,
it as
bro.
little as
He's just
possible.
here.
I would
He's
say
just having. He's just here,
95%,
bro.
maybe even 98%.
He's probably
I
like
don't
thinking
know
about
the
his
exact
league
percent, something
start right
like that.
now.
High 90s% of currencies work with this. But also for me, I understand this is very subjective. Some people may disagree with this take. For me, it's a theme thing as well. Like, I really don't like this super special Vol magic just kind of working with weird ghost magic that doesn't hew together well in my mind. But that is very much me alone who is holding that subjective take.
Even just taking that whole random
I have to imagine
unpredictability
that.
and turning
I
it
have
into
to imagine though
like,
there are
for
certain
normal
points they
mod
can't talk
like
about.
exalting, for example,
Probably.
sure, there's going to be some good outcomes, but for the fact that you can take that whole risk out of the Val Orb, or like most of it,
Probably.
it's honestly just a bit demeaning.
They probably can't
like
talk about PoE 2 at all.
You would never use a Val Orb.
They probably can't
aside
talk
from this way,
about.
with this being the case. So
They probably
that
can't
in itself is no
mention.
bad. Now, however, I was like,
I don't know.
if we had time, which we didn't, I was like, have it do something else. You put it in here, and the two magics collide, and who knows what
cross
happens.
the beams.
They're about to
The
mention.
Valve just says it
They're about to
modifies
mention
unpredictably,
LugoHQ.
so you won't be lying if it did something unpredictable in some other
imagine.
different way. But that was hopes too high kind of situation. It was too difficult.
One other, I know
Uh-oh,
this
here we
isn't
go.
pertaining to a specific question you asked, but one other thing I want to make sure is getting across, because it was too in the weeds to go into in the live stream, is it is performing that craft on the original item X number of times, which means the outputs are independent
Can't
of one
figure out
another.
why his patch
So
is so
if I
loud
have an
now.
amulet that
So
I'm trying
strange.
to annul, for instance, I could have each output, it's unlikely, but each output could annul the same mod. Like the outputs do not care
To
about
restart
one another.
your.
So in theory, with an exalt, you could exalt the same mod on all the outputs.
Or-
It's stupid.
Are you
unlikely,
playing on
but it's gonna
console?
happen.
So if that happens, don't
I don't know
add
if
us.
you're
It's not
playing on
broken.
console or.
That is how
PC.
it is meant to work. It is doing the crafting step of the currency item on the original
it
item
doesn't-
X number of
It
times.
doesn't mod block itself effectively.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
PC.
What's so?
Yeah, I don't know.
The main part of it is this like splitting into separate things, but there is some unique stuff to it as well that can occur to items. Like,
Well, that's mostly the ducats,
Yeah.
which you can kind of just think about each of them as a new bespoke individual currency.
Okay.
So there's the one
Just
that
works
like,
with this.
yeah, there's the one that's like you take an item with an attribute roll and turn it into another attribute roll. You know, strength becomes int or whatever. So those are basically, we had a bunch of ideas for the original Harvest-esque version of the system, and some of them had been implemented and some of them were just cool ideas, and it's like, where can we keep that? Okay, we just make new currencies that drop from the League mechanic that work with all flame crafting.
Nice, there you go. Transported them over. There's a question from chat about reflecting mist with the new crafting system. I imagine that'd be like Vile Orb and that it wouldn't work, but
Anything that's actually one of the few limitations. Anything that outputs more than one output does not work with all flame crafting because it simply can't.
because it would.
Yeah,
you'd need
there's
like,
nowhere to put them.
You'd need like a bunch of 2 items things.
You'd have inventories all over your screen.
You put a Mirror of Kalandra in, and then you only get 1 item back. So
Okay.
Technically, this is not something that anyone should do, but technically a Scouring Orb works.
Why?
If you want.
If you want, I guess. So I'm going to do that.
Sure.
Why not?
Send some sulfur for just throw away sulfur because you're rich.
That
Just
base
burning
type,
money.
that's exactly the same as that base type. Look, no, this one looks better than those ones.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to take number 3. Maybe. Can have any one of those you want as long as it's scoured. A side note, thanks for the attribute swap mechanic as well. Like I saw the Ducat for that swaps attributes. One of my favorites is the resistance swap. But just like fantastic addition for like gear puzzle solving and for making it easy to like swap your gear with stuff you find as well. Like there's a lot less gear lock-in with the resistance swap, and I think attributes will help that too. I kind of wonder if there's like other things like this that might exist. I can't think of any, but
Isn't there in PoE 2 something that allows you? Maybe I'm wrong and this didn't make it in. Which, in that case, I'm sorry. But something that allows you to swap like cold damage on a weapon to being fire damage.
Yeah.
yeah, there
So
is.
that would be the one other case. That's not quite the same though, because that is more changing the identity of a build than it is just solving a problem in a build.
Yeah, I kind of view the attributes and resistance as that problem-solving sort of thing, for sure.
no, the attribute one is actually slightly more interesting because what it allows you is if you have a strength body type, then you can swap it to dexterity or intelligence, which is like technically something you can't actually do.
See, I would have
the
expected
moment.
it to obey the rules still, where it like can't do that, but you can actually just swap them to any.
Nah, it's the All Flame.
It's like older
Yeah,
combinators.
the Allflame doesn't care about
No
the rules.
Aside from
Except the rules that it has.
Except for Valorbs and yeah.
I guess the one caveat is that it doesn't work with hybrid attribute rules. So it won't do anything with all attributes because there's nothing to swap it to, and it won't do anything with things like that give plus 10 strength and dexterity. It only works with, giving one attribute, turning into giving one of a different type.
Yeah. So let's change topics a little bit here to Mirage, which was announced to not be going core in 3.29. But is it something that you'd like to go core in the future? I don't know if you already announced anything about that.
Short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you seemed pretty keen when I was talking to you about it.
We almost always let a league simmer. There's a few reasons for that. We like to have our, this is a more production internal thing, but we like to have our live realm be as close as possible to our internal realm.
Yep.
Right? And so if let's say we're having to make fixes to the live realm, we have to be open to be able to make fixes to the live realm. So if all of a sudden we've redone the code base to not be a league and instead it's now core, we've made all these changes and everything, the capacity for us to then fix things on live becomes significantly harder.
Yeah.
So that's like the production. So that doesn't matter in the latter 2 months of a cycle, but in the first 2 months, it would be like, we don't really want to do that. Otherwise, we don't have the capacity to respond to things going wrong on live. It's safe to say after 2 months, not as much goes wrong. But then you've only got 2 months to now do all the changes on top of the fact we've got this to prepare. We've got all the other content coming in. So like adding that in itself just causes some problems for us where we're like, oh, now we have to, how can we figure out how we can make these changes and get them on live without having what we are committing to internally be even close to what's on live? And so that's a more like, it's something maybe the players don't really often think about because it's really a problem exclusive to us internally. But yeah, like the league worked. I think the other problem you were mentioning as well, I heard you bring out was like the fact that it's multiplicative with everything and affects every league. It's like, are we going to sign ourselves up for the maintenance here? You know, similar, like Reliquarian, but more.
I guess I do want that maintenance. I want Mirage in the game.
Nice.
But I want to do it in a way, I want to make sure that we have assessed it so that it's done in the way that is the least hampering to future development of leagues. Because if every league going forward that appears in maps needs to interact with Mirage, which it will need to because it'll feel lame if it doesn't, then we need to make 100% sure that however we're implementing Mirage now doesn't, continue to pester us and bite us in the ass for the next, 15 leagues that we make. So I think it's very important that we, carefully take the time with its implementation.
There's even the question of should the active league get
That's true,
manipulated by Mirage, or will that make Mirage feel 100% mandatory because they're active leagues in every area, and so you're kind of like, oh, it's getting into that realm of like when we had passives for the active league on the tree and they felt mandatory because it was always there, and it's like, oh, got to be careful with that. So probably not, unless you can do it in a way that's flavorful and not necessarily rewarding. But it will come. There's some decisions we need to make and time to do it, of course. That's always the main constraint, time.
There is another question of if Mirage is even like an investable mechanic on your Atlas tree. Like we could implement it similar to like the Asmeri Forest, where it's just something that randomly appears in your maps, and then
it almost sounds like that might be a better idea for this one, because like it's really good news that it's going core. People seem to really like Mirage quite a lot, but it is one of those things that it seems like it has a danger of becoming like there's an issue in PoE 2 at the moment with like cities feel like they're mandatory. Like you have to have like if you're going to do your juiced content, you've got to do it in this thing because it's just so much stronger. So I could see the same thing being with Mirage. It's like, oh, you're crazy to not do that, and then it becomes another tier 17 kind of issue where it's like, oh, you need to do your juiced in that, or you're just wasting it.
Yeah, I feel like the Asmeri Forest sort of avoids that problem because you don't know about it. And if you're investing lots of like very expensive scarabs into it, then it's not like you're going to just keep fishing maps until you find it.
Yeah, hopefully. And it's just it's just a super exciting win when it does happen. It's not something you can plan around necessarily. So I imagine that's probably the route.
I suspect most people really just want to know when they're getting their shrine belt back.
Yes, and that was my follow-up questions is like, with that not going core just yet, but maybe in the future, in the meantime, there's a few things that people are pretty excited about. We'll start with Screams of Desiccated then, like the...
So, the uniques will not be going core just yet. There are a few other bits and pieces from Mirage that will be going to core, though. Just earlier this week, I added Atlas passive support to Heist for the blueprints that have the special implicits that cool. Guarantee certain rewards at the end of blueprint wings. I think Andrew did some stuff as well.
Yeah, so in sort of where like volatile Valobs are super cool. Yes. I wouldn't want to just...
Yeah.
I think what we'll do is we've currently moved them to Sanctum, so it's a way of making Sanctum more rewarding.
A bit more unique as well.
And I feel like if Mirage goes core, we will probably keep Volatile Valobs as a Sanctum exclusive reward.
Right, yeah.
The other one that we moved was the Crystallized Rancor. That was the one that enabled all the new, like, the minion harvest craft that comes from a new Atlas anomaly. I think it was in the live stream, there's like the big harvest is returned, so when you get a boss in one of those, they always drop the Crystallized Rancor.
Nice, cool. And this is letting you kind of make these things a little bit more distinct as well, which has always been a goal, to give each thing their own rewards.
We are doing more and more and more of that, and people, you can see that with like Legion and stuff like that. So, by the way, we have a goal there, which is ultimately two things, one of which is certainly more ambitious. But the idea would be that every single league that you can invest into, as opposed to ones that exclusively randomly spawn necessarily. Every single league you invest into has exclusive rewards.
Yep.
That is goal one. Goal two is every single league you can invest into on the Atlas in particular has a pinnacle boss. And that's the way more ambitious. We will see if so going there with Abyss now as an example, and the idea that eventually we will add more and more and more and more of them. That one, of course, is significantly more difficult to achieve. So I would expect more leagues to get exclusive rewards, and I would expect less leagues to get bosses in the short term, but eventually that would be the ideal goal.
Awesome.
Some already have them, some... And by the way, I wouldn't consider Bestiary's 4 spirit beasts a pinnacle boss. No. Like, they're just some animals that are ghosts. Like, it's not, because it's too dated, it's too old.
Yeah. I mean, there's even some more recent leagues that don't quite live up to that. I would love to explore what a Mercenaries of Charthus pinnacle boss means.
Ooh,
no promises anytime soon, but just personally, I would love to see what that even is.
Yeah, of course. I've got ideas.
Looking forward to seeing what those are. Refracting Fog is getting asked about for Mirage as well. Is that something that's going core in some way?
Unless you did something along those lines, Andrew, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of the other Mirage exclusive currency is cooling off for a league. So the Refracting Frog and all the Coins of Power, those type of things.
There's a waiting until kind of Mirage goes core.
Yep, and we'll reevaluate then if we want to keep them in Mirage keep them in the game or move them somewhere else.
I know we had a bit of a track record of saying things will go core, and then they, you know, we got now we've got Mirage on the list, we've got Harbinger on the list. Then the others that are we had Mercenaries on the list.
Toda, maybe.
Toda
I
was
don't know.
one.
Sort of. But the idea is, you know, we were like, okay, we're getting too many things that we're saying we will eventually do. Let's actually try and do some of them. And then we're like, okay, Mercenaries is the one, so that at least we're getting that done. I want people to be reassured that we're not just building up an eternal list of stuff we're never bringing back. And I will at least say we are actively working on Harbinger, right? I don't want people to think that's ignored. So just before everyone, I don't know why that would come up again, but just saying, these things are coming. We're not just doing a soon TM situation.
You touched on Abyss as well, and so that's getting a pretty major rework with some nice gameplay updates there. But something that you touched on was that rewards are PoE 1 structure, though. Like, they're not being copied over from PoE 2.
Yes and no. So Abyssal sockets, Stygian vises, Abyssal jewels, those all still exist and exclusively come from Abyss.
Right.
However, the chests that spawn at the, like rise up out of the ground when Abyss is complete, those are more varied now. So it's no longer just like, here's a rare chest that drops stuff. It's, it's a currency chest or a scarab chest or a, weapon chest or an armor chest or a jewelry chest. Like, it's more defined each time. So you get, and that's just better.
Bro, Abyss is about to be so fun.
Having the more defined rewards gives you those moments of, oh, I got a scarab chest. And even when it isn't the case, maybe when you're leveling, you might Act 6 or something, be excited to see a weapon chest when your weapon is kind of crappy.
And did I hear there's like a bunch of new uniques with this as well?
There are 6 and a 7th that people can find.
6, 7.
Some secrets.
I think
So wait, the 6 can't be found?
No, a 7th that people can uncover how to get. Let's put it that way.
And just to be clear, I realize this is a little bit confusing in hindsight. There is a new pinnacle boss. There are still the liches.
Yep.
They are still there. And they still have their drops, so it is entirely new pinnacle means new uniques, and a mysterious one.
And the Delve, this is maybe a little
Secret one,
hyper specific, but the Delve Abyssal City still has the old Abyss monsters if you're feeling nostalgic.
Oh, okay. Nice. In case you missed those. I did feel that about Breach a little bit at one point there, so that's nice to hear. People are a bit worried about things like invulnerable snakes and weird smoke cloud mechanics coming over as well with this change. That's kind of that's the potential downside of what is like otherwise a very exciting thing. Is that going to be the case here?
I arguably spent too much time, not arguably, definitively spent too much time on the Abyssal monsters as we ported them back, giving most of them new skills.
Yep.
Entirely. Like,
okay, yeah. That's
I just really like making monster skills, and I was like, I can do this quick because it's done in bang this out in 2-3 weeks. It was not 2-3 weeks.
You came to me one day and you're like, I've made a mistake. I've spent too long on the Abyss monsters. I'm like, okay, wrap it up, stop, move on. Right? Like, what can we do?
But they do have new skills. There's no breakdancing invulnerable snake woman. Which is a sentence that I get to say as part of my job.
No Amonimus.
And now you get to learn what the new skills are that the Abyssal monsters will have for you in PoE 1.
That's excellent news, and that's making the games more distinct while like taking some of the good stuff from PoE 2, but keeping PoE 1 its own thing. That's really cool.
That was kind of the original impetus. That,
a
and
new
I do
pull-out
personally
method.
like working on monster skills, but I personally very strongly feel that when we're taking from PoE 2, which is a thing we should definitely do, if we don't, then we're not going to have the resources to deliver big enough, cool enough leagues. We should do as much as we can to make it feel distinct in PoE 1.
So you might see a monster that looks familiar, but it's going to do all different things. Oh, yeah. It's exciting.
Reuse the art, adjust the game design is generally the philosophy there, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? That makes perfect sense. Absolutely. So another I was kind of surprised at just how much like stuff was going on in this, because you also have a Legion kind of set of improvements as well, with a whole new reward system for that, which is exploring something that you've been doing a bit of lately, which is being able to modify uniques, which is always kind of exciting and interesting. So what unique modifiers can be ported over to a new item with this new Legion unique crafting system?
Drew's territory?
Well, to clarify first, there's 5
he
different
has a
crystals that
spotlight
can
now.
drop each of them is associated with one of the Legion factions.
Okay.
So, for example, the Marraketh faction drops one that allows you to enshroud your unique body armor items.
Okay.
So it's only armors. You can't do it on jewelry, you can't do it on weapons. So you have shields and gloves and helmets and boots as well.
Yeah.
But you can enshroud any unique armor in the game that isn't corrupted, I don't think. So you can take boss uniques, like...
You can't create boss uniques.
No, you can't create boss uniques.
Yeah, that
You
would
go
be
from
consume
boss
boss
unique.
Yeah,
not
you
to
wouldn't
You can
want that.
take a mod from a boss unique, and it's effectively like you applied an ancient orb to the item. So
Yeah.
it will randomly transform into a new core droppable unique, like a lightning coil or something.
That's so cool.
And the implicit will be the boss unique.
That's so cool.
Or one of the mods, yeah.
And that is an implicit, so it competes with like Val orbing.
Yep.
This is an alternative to Val orbing.
Yeah.
Unique.
I might be jumping ahead here, but I will say, well, I'll say at the moment we've done a big pass on Val implicits. So Val implicits also are much stronger than before.
We will explore that a little bit in crafting
So
for sure.
It's not entirely super duper power creep, but you'll definitely there'll be some combinations of these unique items that you'll be really looking for.
Cool. Don't worry. We'll touch on that in a bit.
The balance of the vestigial uniques, the balance is not. It's not like 1-to-1, right? It's
Where we can keep it 1-to-1.
Oh yeah, of course.
We try to keep it 1-to-1, but for example, something like Comb's Heart, we aren't sending 1,000 life across to the new item. I think
No
it's like
1,000 life lightning
I
coils.
think
That's
it's
a lot,
like
though.
yeah, it's
Yes.
like 250, I think.
250 life lightning coils, pretty good. That's
good.
kind of juicy.
I mean, I'm excited for Facebreaker with Doriani's touch.
Right.
That's my build.
Yeah.
Decided right there.
So it seems like this is only taking the definitive mod off the unique,
Yeah,
not just like some
it's
random.
Usually
thing that's
a
lame.
single specific mod. So if an item has like 5 different mods, there's only one specific one that it will port over.
So you'll kind of know.
Yeah,
all the
there's a
time.
few cases like Shaper's Touch and 3 Dragons where they've got like a cycle of 3 mods
Right. Yeah.
where it will randomly pick one of the 3, but generally it's just one specific mod.
Yeah, that's fun. So the flavor, the main thing, the thing that you care about typically is going to be the thing that comes over there. That is very exciting. I quite like this unique crafting stuff. It's
cool.
good to see you exploring that.
I guess it's somewhat similar to Elder's Legacy, right? Like a little bit.
The funny thing is, I think we designed these independently because we figured this out pretty early on in League development. So this would have been like 4 months ago or so that we figured out this is what we're doing for Legion vestigial items. And then I was talking to David, who's one of the PoE 2 designers, and he's like, oh yeah, we have this really cool thing where you can put a rune that takes a unique mod and puts it on another unit. It's like, what?
You
We're
stole
doing
their
that in
idea.
PoE 1. But it does feel very different, to be fair.
Yeah, so I feel like this same concept is like all of a sudden being explored from a bunch of different angles by different people, which is kind of cool because you're going to arrive at a bunch of cool ideas that, you know, eventually you can.
It's the actual literal case of the great minds. Well, just minds think alike. I wouldn't say we're great. We're just we're just minds.
Come on. So that is like a pretty exciting new thing that you can do with Legion. But with incubators being removed, which is kind of like a lot of the baseline reward for Legion, doing Legions in maps, do you feel like the raw reward value of Legion will still be there? Is that being kind of compensated in some area?
Yeah, well, personally, last league I actually ran a lot of Legions, so I knew like the pain points especially.
Yeah.
And I was flooded with so many incubators. I literally had to filter out like 95% of incubators.
Yeah.
Very few of them I felt like actually gave much like value, and I just was annoyed that every few maps I needed to apply 10 currency incubators.
Yeah, I think this is a good change.
So I don't think you're losing too much. You still have all the other reward icons. Like another thing to note is, I think it was mentioned, is like Abyss Jewels are now exclusive to Abyss.
Yeah.
Talismans are now exclusive to Talisman.
Yeah.
So Legion has a smaller pool. A smaller pool of rewards means you are seeing things like currency rewards, scarab rewards, unique rewards more commonly because we've removed those other rewards.
Right, they're not being replaced. Yep. Like instead of a random incubator that you're filtering out, it's going to be a currency box or something instead. So okay, that makes sense.
It's a nice side benefit of this whole, ongoing effort to get each league mechanic to give its own special thing exclusively.
Yeah.
Because it kind of incidentally buffs the rewards of other league mechanics too, Like, were you ever really excited to see an Abyssal Jewel from Tujin? when you rerolled his shop. You won't see those anymore. And now you might be excited to find a high level Abyssal Jewel from Abyss because the market isn't flooded by 1,000 people clicking reroll on Tujin every day.
Yeah, this is absolutely the right move. It gives people their niches, their little thing to be proud of. Like, I'm supplying the Abyss Jewels to the market.
When it comes to like conceptualizing this, I know like Andrew came in, he's like, I got these pain points. I want to improve some leagues. And I think the thing we're trying to do here, and I hope, it's something players prefer, instead of going fix a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there across all the leagues, I'm like, nah, let's just go all in on a league, do the exclusivity, give it an identity, be it a pinnacle boss or a reward system, upgrade it to uniques, fix all the problems with it, full fresh coat of paint across the board, and also quality of life, any just like, the whole, you couldn't break out, you had to find the last monsters when breaking out a legion, and now you don't need to, is like, honestly, a huge difference.
Yeah, that was me last league. I'm just cycloning through the whole Legion, and I'm just going back and forth over it multiple times, being like, why won't you start? Because I haven't tracked down the last monster hiding around the corner.
But we're trying to just make like quite good packages out of these upgrades, as opposed to just like, it would have been really easy to just fix the few, like that problem and a couple others with Legion, like getting rid of the icons, so you don't just have those arcade style reward icons covering your screen in domain, all that. Yep. But then we're like, well, while we're at it, new reward system needs it, and with the burst we're also like, new pinnacle, why not, because it needs it. And and we kind of hinted towards some ominous mastermind of Legion there, so you can already see we're heading in a direction towards
more to come.
Yeah,
cool.
But I hope players enjoy the more grander reworks as opposed to like what would just get lost in a few almost bug fix patch note style things across the board. So even though some leagues, because I know a lot of people can go, what about this league? What about that league? What about, like, our idea is to just, we've got a new league. Here's a couple of leagues we want to improve by giving them identity and fixing everything, addressing the gameplay concerns, and we're just going to cycle through them. And I'm sure by the time we get to the end, we have to go back to the start. So Legion rework to 2029.
There was a weird question from chat there. Can Foulborn unique mods become vestigial unique mods? That would be kind of wild.
No, I think that's the other restriction of the system. You cannot use the currency on corrupted uniques, and you cannot use it on Foulborn uniques, because it's sort of like a different sort of magic.
Right, yeah. Okay.
They've been defiled in their own way.
Yes. You're not crossing the streams. Things would start to get pretty complicated pretty quickly with that sort of thing, wouldn't they? Another thing that's been reworked and indeed come back is mercenaries. There's a long list of stuff going on in this expansion, isn't there? So to clarify, the base mercenary mechanic is now that you fight them in a zone and then they help you for the rest of that zone, not that you can then like hire them permanently on any character, right?
Yeah, so they'll start showing up in Act 3. There is a change that we want to get in. It might not get in for the patch, but in the campaign we do want to see if the mercenary can follow you for multiple areas.
Oh,
but
like,
if you, so in the campaign, it's like you find them in.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that in Endgame, would you? But like, in
it doesn't really work because they have to go from a combat area to a combat area.
Yeah, okay.
You can only have one temporary mercenary at a time still. So if you find a mercenary in one area and then the next area, you don't have you aren't taking a full party with you. But, yeah, undecided if that will get in time or not.
Okay. I did definitely notice that you have buffed them, because they're now this limited thing. It seems like you're just like, well, let's make them ridiculous. Well, they're stronger than me.
The main thing with temporary mercenaries is you cannot tweak their gear.
Yeah.
And because you cannot tweak their gear, we can make them much stronger than before because we don't need to balance around you giving them 1,000 DPS axes and Doyani's prototype and whatever else.
Yeah, they seem to be powerhouses.
The good thing is we can balance permanent mercenaries and temporary mercenaries completely separately.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And that's the other thing. So you can now get permanent mercenaries through the Luminary. And I feel like this is the most interesting, unique ascendancy possibly ever.
I feel like I maybe lied last time we added the last Scion class where I said we'd add another one after 13 years.
You did, yes.
Turns out it was 6 months. My bad, give or take. So sorry, apologies for the dishonesty.
I'll forgive you on this one.
But yeah, as you were going, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's like, so the Luminary allows you to permanently hire a mercenary, and then there are, it's scaled back a little bit in that you need to say, oh, I care about them having unique gloves, so I'm going to allocate that point, or I'm going to mix and match those guys. So it seems like you've put some kind of effort towards making them a little bit more balanced. But this is like a super. I don't know. This is a super interesting ascendancy because it's got like a really long tail on it. Like you can keep finding new mercenaries as you go long term,
Yes,
right?
it's also interesting if you're not a luminary, because if you find a really good mercenary in a map, you can itemize it and trade it to a luminary.
Ah.
So there'll be a market for farming mercenary for other luminaries, assuming you know what the very
I
valuable
like all these little
mercenaries
micro
are.
markets developing.
I can't wait for someone to buy like an ultra expensive warrant, because that's what the tradable thing's called, the warrant. And then they're like, yes, I get to hire it, and then they just die.
Oh no!
I'm like, no.
You're evil.
I thoroughly love where the Scions now ended up.
Yeah.
The 3 classes it has. You've got the Reliquarian, which we teased yesterday, day before, or something.
Yes,
the new set.
we've shown the new ones.
You got this, like all 3 classes. The Ascendant obviously is a bit more, but there's still many permutations, but still three very unique classes.
Yeah.
Insane build variety. It ended up just being amazing and special, and the Luminary just is the icing on the cake there, honestly. I'm looking forward to playing it. That's definitely my...
Yeah, I'm 50-50 at the moment what I'm going to play. It's either going to be a Flame Link mercenary, me using the Flame Link, or channeling Lightning Tendrils, which sounds weird, but there's stuff.
There's stuff.
I was going to say Andrew has adjusted over 100 skill gems for this
I
patch?
think I still got a few dot buffs to do, but everything else should be in the notes.
That's literally our next topic. Just got a couple mercenary chat questions before we move on. So, will mercenaries revive automatically if they die after changing zones, or do they need to be revived with gold still?
They still need to be revived with gold, and the same system as before, where they'll turn up in the next area.
Yeah. Okay. Did you guys
But their survivability has been... No, I don't think it's been messed with too much. I think it should be all good.
Okay.
You will need to put defensive gear on them, I think. I can't remember. It was too long ago when I looked at the balance for the...
Figure it out.
Did you guys improve the UI or something like that? I feel like it was a bit better or something. I don't know. It's hard to recall. Exactly.
We have added extra panels so you can see more information about your mercenary.
Yeah, there was the passives and defenses and stuff.
So the defenses,
for them.
I think, used to be there, but we've added a new panel for their passive stats, which will show... Because mercenaries in the back end, they have effectively a fake passive tree.
Yeah.
Which you couldn't see before, but it's very useful to know how many damage increases they're getting, how much crit multi they're getting, those inherent...
You can actually build them a bit more because you know what they're going to scale properly. Yeah.
There's 2 things about the Luminary that I think are worth... You're talking about passive stats, and it reminded me. There's 2 things about the Luminary. So the first thing is that what we found is people were playing the Luminary and then they'd find no mercenaries. So the campaign has... How many fixed spawns? 3?
4 areas,
Yeah. So some guaranteed ones. You're still, and the random ones are still there, so that you can't just I've played this class and I can't do anything. And then the second thing is in the campaign specifically, because you can't guarantee them with scarabs and invest into them always being there, they level up with you. So that the ones you do find earlier on will sustain for their skills get better, they get the passive.
Yeah, so when you're in an area, it's just matching their passive stats and their skill level to the current area level. But what it doesn't allow you to do is you cannot equip a high level item on a mercenary you found at level 30. So you can't give them high level items, but all of their passive stats and skills. I think this benefits spellcaster mercenaries a little bit more than the attack ones.
Yeah, but without that, honestly, it was a little bit dire, leveling up as well.
Yeah, I ascended and I immediately found one in Scepter of God, which was the very next zone I went into. So I was and then since then I've done 1 or 2 extra acts, and I found another 5 of them. I found one of the the higher end, whatever the next tier of the mercenaries is called.
Infamous,
I found an infamous kineticist, and it's
that's the big money right there.
Yeah, and then I went into another zone, and there was one of the temporary ones, and I got those guys, and I was just sprinting through the zone, and he's slamming, teleporting, and she's throwing bolts down everywhere. I'm like, nice. Yeah. That's pretty fun. It's gonna be fun in Endgame when you get a good temporary recruit on top of your already luminarious.
I get to be a support character without friends. my mercenary friends.
Absolutely. Will Triathlon skill gems drop from mercenaries now, or they remain exclusively as a heist reward? It's another chat question.
Yeah, we've move them back to mercenary so they no longer drop in heist.
That makes sense. You want each thing to have its own unique rewards after all. Will there be a forbidden flame and flesh jewels for luminary ascendancy nodes? Oh, I imagine not, right?
No, there won't be. Because most of the nodes don't work unless you have the node that enables
and
you
then
to
there's
have
that one that would just be completely busted.
Yeah. So it's similar to Reliquary, and neither of those two ascendancies. You can still use the Ascendance ones, but yeah, you can't get the Reliquarian or Luminary ones.
Sidon and being a weirdo with her ascendancies.
Yeah, she's an edge case.
Fun little thing that I'm sure, well, so we were just discussing this before because you experienced it out here where a lot of players probably have forgotten, but for those who remember the first time players have to actually go and unlock the Scion to be able to play the Scion.
Yeah, I had a fresh account here, so I was all of a sudden like, wait, what? I forgot about that.
You guys have removed the Scion? Who actually remembers that from whatever, a decade ago?
Oh, yeah.
So obviously when we announce a class like this, a lot of people who are going to start playing the game are going to be like, I wanted to play this thing and I don't know where it is and I don't know what to do. Almost certainly after this, we're going to go and make it so that the Scion is just unlocked by default at this point. We should be adding new interesting discoveries and unlocks, not like holding on to that when people might want to play this and come play the game and actually engage with the Scion straight away, and they don't have to. A new player shouldn't have to play to Act 3 to then reroll to do it. I know this is a thing that like isn't a huge deal
most
because
of us unlocked it 15 years ago or something.
Everyone just has done it, but like, yeah, it's easy to forget that even was a thing. So hopefully, yes, they don't have to play to Act 3 to then re-roll in order to play the class that they want to play. Which is a little bit sad because it was a fun thing at the time, but honestly, I forgot about it for 8 years or something. I don't know how long it's been.
Most of us did, indeed. Yeah. So, Andrew, you did some work on skill balancing. It seems like hand casting, aka self-casting, was a big part of the focus. What was your kind of like goals with skill balance this time? What have you been working on here?
Yeah, well, it's a couple of words that keeps cropping up over and over again. So we sat down and had a look and figured out like, what are the problems with hand casting? It's like, what are all the different things we can change? I mean, the general thing from my point of view is I think hand casting is like not bad in the campaign and like early campaign, but I think it falls off quite a lot in the middle game. And it comes back online very, very late game because you have a lot of very unique interactions like life stacking, that type of thing, which can then push it to be like very, very competitive. So a lot of the focus here was adding more scaling into that mid game, especially.
Yep.
But also the fact that we have like hundreds, I think it was like 180 spells that were like viable damaging spells that we could like were candidates for balance effectively.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have so much choice. Why would someone pick one spell over the other? So we've also done a focus of like trying to differentiate the spells a bit more based on like their inherent damage types.
Yeah.
So for example, like blade spells now have like 10% crit chance instead of 6%. So they're massively crit focused. Whereas fire spells have lower mana costs than other spells, but they have higher damage effectiveness, which sort of leans into them being very good for Ignite.
Yeah, I noticed you were doing more elemental distinction as well. Yeah, so like I saw similar kind of reasoning behind cold and lightning as well. Like lightning is faster, but higher mana cost.
Yeah, so lightning will be interesting because lightning has like all of the cast speeds are faster, but the mana cost is also higher. So
that's like a double whammy for like how do you manage the mana on that, and then if you're doing Archmage things as well, especially. I mean, that can be a good thing. It's a good thing to have the higher mana cost potentially.
Yeah, I mean, Archmage doesn't scale off. I don't know. There's not a huge amount of things that scale off current mana cost anymore. I think there are a few, in which case that is actually a buff for those. Yeah. All those lightning spells.
Like unique or something, right? Yeah. So that's a bit stronger distinction there. I saw you're also kind of like, any kind of pure ice spells are getting a chance to freeze, and I saw a chance to shock going in. It's like, why doesn't this skill have 25% chance to freeze?
Yeah. The annoying thing that I found with freeze is that like, it's such an inherent part of a cold build's identity.
Yeah.
But most skills just can't freeze unless they invest into critical strike chance. So having a bit of like chance to freeze inherently on some of the very basic cold spells will make freeze actually be something that you'll notice early on in the game.
Cool, yeah. And it's not just that though, like I definitely noticed some pretty substantial damage buffs for a lot of these skills too, which is important to like give a bit more diversity. I even noticed in the early game, it's like, oh, I don't feel necessarily like I have to rolling magma quite so hard.
Yeah, I think there weren't a huge amount of, like, to be honest, a lot of the changes were to the growth of the spells. Like, for example, channeling spells, because they don't have a huge amount of, like, different axes for scaling, we've increased, like, the damage growth on those. So the damage isn't, like, hugely different at, like, level 1, but it ramps up quite a lot more throughout the game. But we deliberately just nerfed Magma Orb very, very early game, just so you don't feel compelled to use that one spell. Please try something else.
The the curse of Magma Orb is finally over.
I mean, there'll be a new curse, but hopefully we'll change it more frequently than we have with Magma Orb.
Curse of the Allflame.
So along that line, there is the classic, you know, meta nerfs, so to speak, that we like to do every league. But Andrew's a specialist at just give me a giga spreadsheet of numbers, and he is the king of just change all the numbers of all the things. Like, most people are like, oh, there's multiple hundreds of things to do here, like, and they're a little bit reserved. And Andrew's just like, yeah, all good. Let's go through every skill in the game. Let's do it.
Oh man, there's a long list of. It's going to be some long patch notes this time around for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not to say there aren't any, like, nerfs related to... Well, one other thing is, because we're buffing a lot of the spells, I don't want to just buff every channeling spell in the game and everyone's like, oh no, I'm playing totems. No, I'm playing mines. Do note there might be some, like, counterbalance there.
Yes.
That's a good thing. Otherwise, you're not even necessarily then making people want to handcast, right? Like, obviously, so...
Yeah. Do you think that there might be a need in some areas for any sort of like mechanical changes to handcasting and channeling in particular?
Well, there is a dream, and the dream is cast while moving, but that is... I don't know if we'll ever see that in PoE 1.
That's a tricky one, isn't it?
It requires the new rigs, I assume.
We will someday.
One day.
One day.
That one's an actual long time away, though. That's not like a... But it will come. We've explained that a whole bunch of times. It's the exact same reason why there's no WASD.
Yeah, I see the question, and we've answered it before, the WASD question, but that's the same thing.
We understand
it kind of needs the rigging to work.
We understand how popular those things will be, and it will happen. It's just taking its time, and not due to us, like, not caring. There is a whole department actively working on aiming towards this goal.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So ironically, with the discussion and like a lot of the focus being on hand casting, self casting, and trying to make those better comparative to like triggered and other means of getting spells out, which have been dominant in the past, there has still been a lot of questions about cast on crit and cast while channeling, and those feeling weak. Interesting. So it's especially like cast on crit players seem to be like lamenting the loss of awakened cast on crit, for example, and feeling like they're a lot weaker now, or that's a lot less viable. Is that something you've considered or looking at in the future at all?
There is this new node on Assassin, which is sort of insane for cast on crit.
Interesting.
If you're familiar with bifurcation, and I don't know if it was shown in the live stream, but if you're familiar with crits bifurcating in PoE 2, we've pretty much ported the exact same mechanic back to PoE 1, which is especially effective on cast on crit.
That was a whole can of worms, that thing. I'm surprised you're opening that one again.
Yeah, cast on crit, I'm like, sort of just ignored this patch. Cast while channeling, though, feels a little more like you are casting it yourself, although you can cyclone, which... So, cast while channeling has received some buffs. I don't think cast on crit has really...
Okay, yeah. Apart from maybe something with Assassin.
Apart from Assassin might be
Wait,
very,
what did he
very
say?
strong for it.
Yeah, I'll ask more about Assassin later, although before...
He said you can't cast
support. We should probably
Cyclone
touch on that.
while
so
cast on
you
channel?
did the removal of the Awakened supports and then the new exceptional supports, and now that we've had that for a league, I'm just curious. I've seen some questions here and there about it, and I've seen people saying, especially like dot builds, maybe poison builds, I feel like they lost a lot from the transition. You know, they had a bunch of damage now before that they don't have now. They were kind of already something that was a bit capped in terms of damage.
The problem that a lot of those non-ailment dots have is there's very few mechanics that you can do something like super interesting with.
Yeah.
And previously, a lot of the old Awakening supports were just pure damage multipliers. All the supports they used were like Awakened Burning Damage, Awakened Deadly Ailment, or not that one, but Swift Affliction or whatever. So, yeah, they certainly did lose a little bit of damage at like the super endgame, but hopefully I'm undecided. Like I said before, we've still got some like, I've got a specific list of spell dot skills, which I haven't exactly figured out how I want to buff yet, because it could just be damage growth. But I think the correct answer is we add more different, it could be support gems, there could be just some in-game itemization that like adds extra axes of scaling to these skills. It was shown in the live stream, but one of the packs is very focused towards these.
Yeah.
The Pact of Gore, depending on like how many different types of non-damaging dot skills you use, you'll get like a huge bonus to their like damage and.
So there's still some stuff that's going to come in the patch notes as probably early next week. So the dot skills, as he mentioned.
Oh wow, this patch then.
Maybe, unless he decides not to. And we were even working on some. We're working on some keystones for casting that we haven't quite figured out. But the hope is to be able to do them. Like kind of one for fire, one for lightning, one for cold, something like that.
Wow.
No promises, but they're close. We're like 80% into solving it, and there's just a few bits left. But we didn't want to add something too kind of convoluted, and so just trying to find out how to simplify them and make them feel a bit more fundamental, as opposed to just like a confusing mess. And if some of that can just be a matter of descriptions, which. Oh my God. Also, I don't know if people notice, but we have the helper text system now in PoE 1.
Yeah, the tooltips. Yeah. I definitely noticed that. I love tooltips.
I just remembered. I was like, we didn't talk about it.
I was like, wait a second, that's a tooltip right there.
On that note, though, we don't have everything. The system's there.
That's going to take time.
The new stuff has it. The old stuff going to require
slowly
a
bit. It's a lot of
updated.
Finding all the cases where it's necessary, writing all the text.
Yep,
linking them all. You can automate some of this once you have a keyword, which is what we call it internally. You can go look for all the places in the game that use that word that you're trying to keyword.
Yep.
But the actual writing of each individual keyword, that needs to be done manually by people who understand the systems, and is also very exacting, because Path of Exile is a very precise game.
Exactly.
And so if you have slightly different wording, it can mean a wildly different thing.
We only let a few people in-house actually write these things because we want to make sure they're very consistent. You see in some games where you've got descriptions and it's just, you look like each developer wrote their own variation of it. So we generally try and make sure these are done very precisely, because misinformation is way worse than almost no information, right? Like it just confuses people. So they're going to get filled in, but we're needing those specific people to be free to do it. But it's a good QOL addition to the game, and good for onboarding as well. And so that's just random pivot, but I just remembered that when we were talking about the keystones and describing them.
I see chat bringing up nearby. Did we get that nearby?
Oh
thing,
I was going to mention
the highlight, the circle.
So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a restart patch, like a content update, maybe a week or two after release. And for that, I have a plan where I'm going to unify all the nearby keywords. So nearby, close, present, proximal, all of that stuff. And then it will all be keyworded, and you'll be able to highlight the keyword, and you'll get the nice little ring around your character.
I just want to clarify, because people got confused about it last time. When he says restart patch, it just means a patch in where the realm goes off and then back up. Just to be clear. I saw last time people going, what do you mean there's a week one league reset?
As in, there are some changes that won't work unless the client has been restarted. So it just forces everybody off the game.
Internal terminology leaking
It's
out.
about client server synchronous. But
that's good news.
I've seen us. We refer to it as a restart patch internally, and I see some people, rightfully so, misinterpret that as a economy restart or something. I'm like, no.
You don't need to do that for a tooltip.
No,
not usually.
The new league mechanic tooltips.
So we've had the assassin rework, and how do you feel like that landed? And there was also kind of like linked questions about. Well, we talked about cast on crit, but also like elusive, not feeling very good to build around. But I think before you could refresh it, but not anymore.
I feel like when we reworked it, it landed a little bit too weak, which is why we're making changes this patch. Not just, it's mostly because it's an intelligence ascendancy, and so we can like put it under the umbrella of self-cast buff. But do note that the death marked node, the one that is applies assassin mark, that has also been massively buffed. So
Oh, cool.
if that node is much stronger for attack builds, then hopefully Assassin is also viable for them too.
Control F Assassin in the patch notes then. That's good news. Yeah, because I was doing a little bit of research on that, just kind of see where it landed, and ultimately it was like 2%. It seems like the Shadow Ascendancies in general are all a little bit low.
Yeah, I mean, we do sometimes look at PoE Ninja just to see like the one
the
or two
absolute authority
Ascendants.
on this.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
we often have our we make sure we address the least played class or two. But because some of these, we just instead went with more of a well, not to say they aren't, but folded into the hand casting thing and do spell casting adjacent stuff instead.
Yeah, related to the assassin questions, a few people have been asking about daggers and claws. Daggers in particular feel like they lack a bit of an identity. Like you would expect them to be the highest crit thing, but in many cases that seems to not be the case. And a lot of the times it's like, unless it's a unique, it's like, well, I should just use a claw instead. That's going to be better.
One of the things that's going to be in the patch notes is quite a lot of caster itemization changes, particularly to like staves and daggers and wands and scepters.
Okay.
So one of the things with daggers is they're implicits. We just had a look at them compared to like wands and scepters, and it's like you're kind of weak.
Yeah.
So all of the crit chance on dagger implicits has been buffed.
Nice.
And then the changes that were related to wands and scepters generally proliferate to daggers as well. So roll and caster daggers will have a bunch of improvements. As attack daggers versus attack claws, the only real change there is that daggers have slightly more crit chance.
Yeah, I imagine that's a bit out of the scope of this current one, since it's not the focus now, but something to look at in the future.
It's the
maybe.
same thing where we try and pick a package similar with the League reworks,
For sure.
instead of just bits and pieces all over. We're like, what's something cohesive? So when you go hand casting, and then you kind of let it spread and affect things that are somewhat adjacent, but I mean, the players will then tell us what the next, like we almost always go off, as he said, when the word hand casting or self casting keeps coming up, that's how we ultimately decide here's what we're doing next. So ultimately we just keep paying attention to what people think is not in the right spot, and then we go, okay, how are we going to turn that into a package, a rebalance package, and that's kind of how we go about doing it, to be honest. So let us know is the answer.
Well, I mean, that's the next question is about defenses on ranges. Obviously not in the scope of this patch, so no one expects anything in that regard. But it's maybe a good one for the future to look at. Defenses on the ranger build archetypes, especially with bows, it seems to be, is kind of the topic here. And I had some prolonged discussions with a few people about this one. So I have some extra context on this if needed, but the main takeaway seems to be that range defense suppression, namely, was nerfed as a result of other classes heavily investing in it, which is like a good thing to do, because you don't really want like the build checklist of like, oh, I have to get suppression on every single build was obviously a problem. So that was like nerfed in, I believe, 3.27, and there was some stuff before that as well. So while probably good for other builds balance, Rangers seems to be lacking in their own way to make up for that. And evasion seeming kind of increasingly weak, with less benefits to stacking it than other things like armor and energy shield. And other defensive layer options in that kind of archetype seem to be highly conditional, or they have some really big downsides. And the ascendancy options are really high in point investment typically. A lot of them are 4 pointers, where other things in other classes would be 2 points, and also highly conditional. It's like, you know, don't get hit, or you don't have any defenses kind of thing. So I was wondering if that's like an area that you might be interested in looking at in the future, or something you've been tracking.
I mean, if the player base agrees, and then we look into it, which, I mean, you're primarily correct, yes, then that will turn into our next package, right? Like, we pay attention to it during this league, by the way. And then we go, okay, you got this, this, and this. What one are we going to focus on? Maybe we can do a second. So, again, that is a worthy candidate for sure.
Yeah, I haven't played an evasion build in like 2 or 3 leagues,
That might be a good
I
indicator.
can't remember how good the defenses were. I remember the philosophy of that change was basically that like a lot of the investment in the ranger area of the tree should be able to get suppression back to the level that it was pre-nerf.
Yeah.
If that isn't the case, we can probably do more there.
Yeah.
You'd want to adjust things that are like solely the domain of that kind of build, right?
Yeah.
So like pure evasion bases, or maybe quivers, something like that. If you're talking about bow builds being a problem specifically.
It could be we do it more
ascendants and
decks.
stuff.
Like if you dexterity focused kind of defenses pass plus weapon distinctions. Like if you're talking about attack claws and daggers, like I can already see this coming together and becoming a bit of a thing. So even if it's not just defensive, it could just be something to do with that.
Since we were kind of talking about like the daggers and claws and stuff, that's also in that similar area. So I wonder if that's like there's a package kind of in that area.
I can see that. I could see that coming together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's always gonna be people that disagree on like what's the next area that should be focused on, but that's one that got brought up by someone whose opinion I kind of trust on that topic.
I do agree that I don't think PoE 1 has super good identity between different types of weapons, because if you're a slayer, it's like, what's the difference between using a two-hand sword axe or mace? Really, there's like a few mastery options, a couple of different implicits,
and that's a fun thing to improve too. Like it results in things being more interesting typically whenever that sort of stuff is addressed. So
I mean, one of the benefits of having this cadence where we have the split teams with designers fully dedicated to PoE 1 is we have the time and resources to address these kinds of problems. We can do much more significant balance shakeups every league if we want to.
That's clearly evidenced by this patch with the gigantic delve into the various problem areas. It's good news for sure. Production, can we scroll past this part? Yeah, a bit down further, thank you. Cool. Another thing that got mentioned that I don't know if it was mentioned at all in the... Well, okay, so you mentioned something about Val orbs, and this is connected to this. So, synthesis. You mentioned something's happening with synthesis modifiers.
Oh yeah, we're just getting rid of them.
Nice.
That is the thing that's happening. Yes.
Good riddance.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the synthesis unique items are still unchanged. They still can get synthesis implicits, but they sort of... We've never really liked they're just like item bloat, and they don't really have a specific home in the game currently. So why have synthesis implicits when you also have Val implicits, and it sort of removes the identity of implicits on like weapons, for example.
Also, the whole identity was you take multiple for those who maybe remember the league, you take multiple items explicits mods and put them as implicits on something. Like the whole idea was that you're turning explicit mod power into implicits, and then we removed that conversion process and then just had... So really what it just looks like is there's just a random amalgamation of different modifiers that are implicits on these items. But it's like, you never synthesized it. It's just an item. So even like just immersively, it's just like, or narratively, or in world, it's like, what does this even mean? Now that there's no actual crafting bench to achieve it that synthesis had during its league forever ago. But yeah, then it's just like, okay, now you've just got this amalgamation of so many different stats that are just contesting with designs, well, ultimately blocking design space, and they don't really have a purpose. So like, we just eradicate it so we can free up some, make some of these other things more powerful, or free up some design space to be able to do some more stuff in the future.
Which we then did immediately use, right, Andrew?
Yeah. So,
tell me more.
Well, I guess that's sort of like the vestigial items, but those are unique, so they don't really compete with synthesis bases. But the main thing we did is we took most of the interesting, powerful synthesis implicits and turned them into Val corruption implicits.
Yeah, so
you can corrupt a ring and get +1 frenzy charge,
cool.
for example.
Well, that's a potential big buff to Val orbs. Then it seems like that's a much more interesting thing.
You'll see it in the patch notes, but in doing like the Abyss changes, we've ordered all the mods on Abyss Jewels, and we've removed bad ones, buffed weak ones. Same for all the Val.
I think we got rid of the increased damage versus abyssal monsters one, right?
Yeah, I think
that's gone.
I think I petitioned you to get rid of those like years ago, and now I didn't even ask you this time. I just removed it.
Yeah, get rid of them. I don't know why I ever would have defended that. Fever dream.
Memory hole.
One of those days. Did you ask me before 10 a.m. and I hadn't had enough caffeine?
I can't remember.
You can't do that. I need that for a reason.
That's the right answer.
Yes. I mean, that's a very juicy buff to double corruptions. There's going to be some fun double corrupting actually coming out of that.
It also means you can no longer mirror the best items in the game anymore.
Yeah. I was gonna say like this is the sort of change that affects like very pinnacle high end crafting, because like you can't get those crazy bases to craft on now.
The only small reservation is it sort of removes a little bit of the value from the leagues that actually did for some reason drop synthesis items. So for example, Ritual,
which is everything but synthesis. Let's be clear.
Yeah. So those might be the next leagues in the future on the like, let's audit their rewards, make sure their exclusive rewards are like much more powerful and interesting.
It somewhat bounces in the other direction though, because there's a lot of leagues that'll generate corrupted items as outcomes, and now those can be much more of a jackpot, right?
True. Yeah. Well, so part of my follow-up question was like, it was at some point mentioned that we would get the ability to add synthesis item drops back to synth maps, because that was always like one of my favorite things. It's like it's such a high variance, fun win thing. It's like, oh yeah, man, rings are dropping with synthesized implicits. Like that's awesome. So now obviously that's not going to be happening since they're not a thing anymore. Is there something that synthesis maps could get to make them have their own unique reward? Are they even a candidate for that kind of like, are they a system enough?
Well, they're sort of under the umbrella of unique maps being very old and being not very good. And we would love to just like completely redesign all of them and do them properly.
They're getting sad. They're getting real sad.
Yeah.
It came up as part of the Atlas anomaly discussion. You know, there was a point where we were like, should all unique maps just be Atlas anomalies? And should we then do a pass on all the unique maps to make them more worthy? And it was just too much of a rabbit hole of work at the time. You know, it was maybe a month before release, and that's not the point in the development cycle where you can make that kind of decision.
Yeah.
I will mention one thing though. Doyani's Machinarium is no longer required for challenge completion. However, Doyani's Delusion, the unique boots that drop from the map, have been like, they always drop corrupted with an implicit, and they've been massively buffed. So they're very high variance. So you'll want to run that map to find some
that's
potentially crazy boots.
Awesome. So we recently had some of the bigger Chaos Orb sinks removed, probably causing the quick spike to 300 plus Chaos to Divine ratio that was in Mirage, compared to the more typical 150-ish that we had in Keepers and before that. So what are I'm curious, like, is this something you guys really look at or care about too much? Or are you like, the economy's going to economy? Like, what are your thoughts about it? What are the impacts on players of this sort of change? Like, if you have an economic shift like that, is it something you care about?
Too much.
I mean,
not if it's too.
That's the impression I've got in the past.
If
is
that
like
was 3,000, whatever. Obviously, the magnitude matters. It's not to say it isn't a thing we might want to consider. I'm just saying, like, it's not a huge deal for sure. Not unless it actually spirals out out of control.
There's this thing with the economy that, like, from your guys' perspective, I get the sense that, like, well, this is kind of like the player's domain a bit more. We don't want to necessarily influence it too much all the time.
Yeah, maybe the new de facto currency will be chromatic orbs. You never know.
Could you imagine? Oh,
yeah.
I don't know. Not to be contradictory or anything, but, like, I don't personally have much of a horse in the race of the economy part of this, but I really like there being sinks for things because I like things leaving the economy, thus allowing things to retain value over time. You know, it's one of the main reasons that I like personally play hardcore trade over other leagues, because things leave the economy.
Yeah.
So would I want more chaos sinks in the game? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I want them in the game because there's a ratio of chaos to divines that's wrong in some way? No. It's just because it's good for the game generally.
Okay. Yeah.
It is sad when the Chaos Orb as a drop now feels weak, right?
I think
that is sad.
That's the most compelling argument that I see when I'm thinking about this, because I usually ask people when people think about, like, have you seen the economy ratio? And I'm like, well, why do you think it's a problem? And the answers I get are varied and not always super convincing. But the most convincing one that I hear is that the players who are picking up Chaos Orbs aren't getting that kind of like incremental progression towards their thing. Like that's like that appeals to me. I feel for the normies being one myself.
The fewer items that are satisfying to drop.
Yeah.
Like if it only becomes, here's the only 2 items you care about that drop, that's bad. So yeah, we do have to keep as many drops as possible feeling satisfying, and that is the main motivation to go, okay, if it's crossing it's a grey line, it's like weird, but if it does cross the line, then, I guess it's not even really a line. It's just the more items we can keep satisfying, and thus you could argue, yes, this is something that we should push for fixing for sure.
That said, we have added a couple of
bearing the lead.
Yeah, so we've added 2 new crafts. Andrew did the balance on them, so.
Oh, only the costs. That might be wrong. We'll find out.
There's bench orb crafts for Chaos Orbs now, I saw.
Yes. They behave, I mean, if you're familiar with the PoE 2 Chaos Orb where it removes a mod then adds a mod, there's one that does that, and then there's one that removes 3 mods and adds 3 mods. So you can kind of use these to try and salvage items that have a really good mod that you want, but a bunch of other trash.
Interesting. It's hard to tell the impacts or like how much that'll be used, but it's an option there. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's gonna sink a few chaos orbs. I saw that one of them was like 8 chaos or something.
We'll keep an eye on it. I wouldn't want chaos to become pennies. You know, that's which you could argue they're 1/3 of a penny right now, I guess, depending on what your
you call it divine a dollar?
Depends what your dollar is, I guess. Well, I would argue the divine is somewhat of a dollar, but we'll keep an eye on it as well. But again, the ultimate philosophy is we should be keeping as many drops as possible feeling satisfying. That's the goal. So anything that goes away from that is technically in the wrong direction. It's just, it can get a little bit away from it without us having to take action. And sometimes there are short-term things that influence, not to say that that's what's happening.
This is dragging on.
And then they just course correct next league. And sometimes there are things that are needing addressing. I don't have an exact answer for it now, which is why I'm kind of being a little bit vague, because we need to discuss and figure out what to actually do. Hard to promise things at this point, but yeah.
Well, we've kind of touched on it a little bit a few times, but bestiaries had to have seen some changes to its beast crafting. You also mentioned like the specific beasts are dropping specific talismans as well. Side note on that, is that something you can target farm in some way since they are specific?
Yes, so every single red beast has its own specific talisman it drops.
Yeah.
So for example, if you want like a Rex talisman, then there is the node on the Atlas tree that increases the chance for like beasts from that specific genus to spawn.
That's a cool little buff for
so
those,
yeah, you can... a Rex just looks like some sort of mammal to me, but yeah, it is
a bird.
Okay.
Is it a bird? It's a bird. You can plus
idea.
birds. The more likely for the bird species, I'm pretty sure will increase the Rexes. But I didn't actually ever think about how clear the correlation between the genus and the actual monsters is. So I guess it's fine. Whatever.
One of you mentioned to me that beast splitting is gone. That's obviously a big change for some folks. It's a big crafting thing that was used for some high-end crafting projects or just getting extra value out of certain drops, I suppose, in some cases. So talk us through the removal of the beast splitting.
Well, the main thing is I feel like historically beast splitting was never really intended for, or has never really been used for its original intention of splitting the mods from one item onto 2 items. It's almost always just been used for, I just found the most valuable base type in the game in Heist, and now I have 2 of them.
I mean, it came about because we were looking at the fact that we don't want every simplex amulet to become 2, right? Like that. That was where this came in. We started discussing it, and we were just like, is this even healthy at this point? Like, just ultimately every base type that's of value becomes 2 base types of value. And I get that it's just taking away the value, but it also just honestly isn't necessary at that point.
And worth noting, Fractured Fossil has also been changed.
Okay. I mean,
because that does a similar thing.
It fractures the item now, like the name suggests.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't fulfill its original purpose. I could see people being a bit like, oh, no, but I liked having 2 of everything I found.
Yeah, but
I mean, there's also like, what if you just doubled the frequency of them appearing and removed it? Not to say we've done that,
even
by
if
the
you
way.
don't, it's like the thing you get now is worth like, 1.5 times as much or whatever the difference in the cost of the beast splitting was. Like, it was just priced into the economy of it anyway. Like, so it just became this kind of like obligationary step that you just had to know about, otherwise you were scamming yourself.
Yeah.
And in many ways, the new Oriflame crafting is splitting items.
Sure.
Somewhat.
In a sort of way.
If you want to do the original intent of the
you can only keep one of them.
Closer to the original.
There's a Ducat that's very similar to that, which splits it into a bunch of ghostly forms that each have some of the item or one of the mods in the original item, and then you pick one.
You can take the mod set you
got
want.
some
Cool
chocolate
idea.
pudding.
So like that is closer to what the beast was originally intended to do.
Been dragging a little
Isolate
bit.
a strong mod to then craft from.
But noting on the
Been almost
case
2
of
hours.
bestiary, I know Octavian, you share this as well, but both of us probably. I don't know how you feel about it. It's our top on our top list.
Oh yeah, even
So your number one. It's my number one for like.
Our programmers keep asking me when are we gonna get.
Oh God,
It's a dire rework.
it is a rat's nest, man, on the back end. Like when we added that scarab that added the new beast, the Black Morrigan, like that was just add a unique beast that has a few crafts, and that was like 2 weeks worth of going back to it, fixing a bug, going back to it, fixing a bug, because it's
sad.
It
is
it's a bit older, that
number
one.
one league that's in a dire need of a rework in our eyes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Monsters are old, the combat's old, the bosses are old, the crafting system has gone through so many different identities and different things to the point where I honestly think it's like kind of lost a bit of its groove.
I mean, what I will say is it's a very strong concept, though. Like going and capturing beasts, like wild spirit beasts, is really cool. And that's kind of why the very original pitch for this league was like, you know, go back to that theme. So we'd want to keep the strong theme, but
anyway, I know that one. We all agree. I don't know how players necessarily feel,
well,
but
yeah, I mean, I definitely have had questions about that, especially on the quality of life side of things. And since you're already thinking about that, it'd be worth mentioning those now. So people like, particularly like just with hitting the limit of beasts and then like having to empty them out. There has been some improvements there, but it seems like it's still like just a big problem for people that are
honestly
actually trying to engage with the mechanic.
we've been doing kind of weak level band-aids for a while there, because the actual solution is quite a lot of work, and we keep going to do it and we're like, can we really afford to spend this much time on that instead of, and there's all this like cool content stuff, and every time we're weighing the scales it's like, it's not quite there. And so this is where I'm like, okay, in order to actually do this, we have to make bestiary the focus. So we have to go, this is the rework, and then we'll be able to do all of this stuff. But it's surprisingly more work than it might seem.
Because if you do it in that way, where you're making it a focus and you're, you know, revamping a lot of the content as well, then you're not having to choose between, do I fix these problems or make cool content? You're just fixing the problems while making the cool content.
Yeah.
Make league good.
Something that I saw kind of like asked is like proposing the idea is like, do yellow beasts even really matter and need to be a thing like they are? Like, what if they just kind of dropped a life force beast juice? Or something like
this
that.
Recently as well.
Interesting.
Well, this was part of the original spec where we'd basically wanted to say that yellow beasts still appear in maps as extra monsters, but Ironheart doesn't capture them. And then all of the recipes just require a red beast, and he'll spawn some random other beasts alongside when you do an encounter.
When I imagine it modernizing past, that's kind of what I imagine,
The only problem is that is a lot of programmer work, actually.
Every solution we came up with was like, all right, we've done all the like 1 day tasks. Now we're in the many day to week tasks, and we're like, it's just getting so. Again, it will be a focus soon.
I wonder if that makes it a candidate for more of like a bestiary 2.0, like a more substantial thing, since it is going to be so much work anyway. Just to untangle that, like.
Not necessarily as an active league, though it could be, but I'd say currently still probability-wise, it's more likely for just a rework. Similar to like Abyss and Legion this time round. It'll be, here's a new league, here's a bestiary rework, insert other things here.
We've got some rapid fire kind of quality of life and technical questions here. EU servers seem to be having some major issues each league launch and maybe beyond that from what I've heard. Any news on sources of that issue or potential improvements on the horizon?
None of us three know about that, unfortunately. So Jonathan handles that with our more live ops and sysadmin team, so we just don't know, honestly, what's going on. Like,
I'll ask him about it then.
That is the better thing to do for sure.
I'll get on it. We talked about the tooltips. Excellent. In-game price checking was added to PoE 2. Is that something you're planning on adding to PoE 1 as well?
Almost all of that. Well, yes. Don't know when. Same with like price checker, build planner, which I guess is a bigger
build
thing.
planner. Yep.
There's some complexities around it. Like we are trying to, as from the helper text thing, we just got that ported over, so we're slowly porting stuff over. But often the best person to do it is the person that implemented it, right? That makes sense to port it. But those people are working on PoE 2, big upgrade. So we've got to find these like windows where they're like kind of between tasks where they can migrate it over and make it work. Otherwise, you're having someone who doesn't know that code base at all trying to maneuver it over, and they don't understand the, parts of it that are less important and more important necessarily. And they can figure it out, but it would just take a lot more time. So we try and find these lulls between major tasks for them where they can go and port stuff back. And we just need to do some of that really. So.
And those are the sorts of things that work towards the goal of like, you don't really have to install third-party software to play PoE if you're a long-term player. That's ideally the outcome there. And that got me thinking about that. There's 2 features of Awaken Trade that I would keep me using it, even if you had the in-game price checking that was working just as well. And those are /hideout macro, the ability to like return to your hideout quickly. And the second one is the control scroll wheel your stash has without being moused over it, because that exists in game, but you have to mouse over it, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Interesting.
So I'm just wondering if like those are things that could just become core behaviors.
Well, the latter one, I can just go and talk to some UI programmers and see whether we can do that.
Both are fully feasible.
Please do.
The first one I'm less certain of, but
we added why not? It's just a check
I think in PoE 2 there's a return to hideout button if you go to someone's hideout to trade. I don't know if that's in PoE 1 currently. So that might be just like a little gap.
Also similar to how we bound use town portal. Like
it could be a hotkey,
we could have a return to hideout.
That would be amazing.
Or just a go to hideout. Obviously it won't always work. Like if you're in an area where hideout doesn't work, it won't work.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
And maybe then do one for like, / King's March or whatever the one is that brings you to King's March. And
that's kind of the one I use the second most if I'm playing that.
Half your keyboard just teleports you.
Yeah, we've got a lot of hotkeys, but these could be optional ones, I suppose.
Some are more used than others, right?
Yeah.
So we'll start with those ones before we add a whole ruckus of.
Oh, that'd be amazing. If the control scroll wheel's possible as well, that'd be awesome, because that's just like when you're transferring stuff from your inventory, you're moused over there. You don't have to mouse over to change tabs and then back and forth. That'd be awesome. Oh, great. Awesome news. The Tota event caught me by surprise. Trial of the Ancestors. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise. How did that one come about? And just kind of like, just quickly, kind of, what are your thoughts on it? Any useful takeaways? Learn some useful stuff about
we wanted to just have like a variety of different events we can run. And it was like, we don't want to just keep doing the same thing. And so it kind of was like, okay, we've had this and this. Like we even discussed at the time going, could Mercenaries be an event format? And we went through all the different options. And then I think there's been a bit of a because Trial of the Ancestors effectively got dismantled after the league.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's gonna be so much work to bring it back. Turns out wasn't that much work.
Yep. It took a programmer like 1 day to revive it.
Yeah. Ended up being way quicker than we had expected. So we were like, well, let's just do it, run it as an event. I know people have been craving it, but let's actually see if it's more nostalgia fueled or otherwise. But yeah.
It's one that I see like some people just like they tried it here and they're like, nah, I don't get it, I don't like it. But then I see other people, like I was reading a thread about it today, and they're like, I love this, like I want them to make it core. Like this seems to some people really fall in love with this mechanic. So is it something you want to make core at some point still?
We're on ultimately we were like, do we keep it as like a kind of event thing, and that way certain people play it because they love it and others won't, or I guess there is still the room to integrate it into core and do a bunch of stuff around that, as long as it's obviously you don't have to do it, right? It's like, if you like that, similar to say Heist, if you are into Heist, there's always a crowd that loves these different things, then you can go do that, and if you don't want to do it, then just ignore it. So as long as it's in that format, because it is quite specialized content.
Super.
Like it's just totem rugby.
The most of anything, I think, the most specialized.
So it has a place. We just need to talk about it and figure out where we want it to be.
Could we scroll down a little bit, production, just so I can see those questions down there? Do the Ducats increased intangibilities? There's some random chat questions we have here. So
depends on the Ducat. Every currency is just set by myself as to whether or not it does or doesn't. There are a lot of lower level currencies that you would use at lower levels more frequently don't. So like an alchemy orb doesn't increase intangibility, but things that you're using when you're finishing an item often do. So like an exalted orb, for instance.
Can replica unique mods become vestigial unique mods?
Yep.
Yeah, that seems like it would be legal, unlike the other ones.
Those are legal.
Yeah, because they're just they are just a unique.
There are some interesting things you can do, because you can take a replica unique, and then it can roll into the non-replica version of the unique, and then it can, in some cases, it can have basically 2 of the similar mod.
Interesting. That's kind of wild. I imagine you can't create a replica unique though, because they're from a specific piece of content, same as boss drops.
Yeah, we didn't want to do the.
You don't want to cheat that.
Getting all the boss drops and no one's even killed the bosses.
It's no good.
The things it can create are the things you can ancient orb an item into.
Yep.
Nice. That makes sense. Can we get log into hideout? Or so like that option that logs you back into your hideout. I think PoE 2 has that.
As much as no one's gonna like the answer, no. Their logging into town is important for us.
Yeah.
And probably for reasons people won't like. But ultimately, like just to express it, it is ultimately we want the game to feel like a multiplayer game, and we want you to log into a hideout and see other players and be part of this universe where there are other players. And as soon as you can just bypass that, and again, I know people aren't going to like that answer, but that's just where we stand on it. And, you know, not to say it, I used to say it a lot more, but my answer is kind of deal with it.
Deal with it.
Which, yeah, but I know that's not going to be a popular take for sure.
Will we eventually be able to switch out gear in the recently teased Animate Guardian UI? The teaser has locks in the UI indicating that we can't take items out. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, the Animate Guardian is, we sort of just got that in like a week or two ago. So at the moment, it's just very bare bones. It's, you can right click the icon and you can see what items are equipped on your Animate Guardian.
Yeah.
You still have to go through the really jank process of dropping the item on the ground and using the skill on it to actually equip it.
Yep.
We do want to actually change that so you can just drag and drop items.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if we'd want to allow you to remove items that are on an Animate Guardian.
No, that's fair. I imagine it'd be like mercenary. You can put over. Yeah, fair enough. I think that leads to my final question of today, which is ExileCon is fast approaching, and I think in many people's eyes, it's like it's a lot about Path of Exile 2. Like, it's a big event to announce the big stuff for PoE 2, but is there some stuff that PoE 1 fans should be excited about for ExileCon? Is that a focus? Is something happening there?
For sure. It's not PoE 2 con, it's ExileCon, right? We've got two main games, two titles, right? And of course, ExileCon will have a thing for PoE 1 and for PoE 2. And I actually saw some people, just before the stream was started, I saw a few people going, last PoE 1 patch for the year. And I went, no, it's not. There is a 3.30. It will be before the release of PoE 2. And so... it's crazy to think there's that many expansions.
I know, right? I was talking about this with Jonathan earlier. It's like there's been 30 expansions since the 3 series, right?
Yes, we will have another PoE 1 expansion. Already cooking up some awesome ideas, and I'm sure they'll release it. I'm sure next Saturday for us, we will be able to nail it down mostly. But yeah, some pretty cool stuff in the works, or to be in the works fully, since these guys are wrapping up. But yeah, should be epic. PoE 1, PoE 2, big end of year for us. Like, absolutely monster of an end of year for everything Path of Exile related. Yeah,
absolutely. Excellent. That's fantastic news. Exactly what we want to hear. Well, thank you very much, all of you, Andrew, Octavian, Mark.
There it is.
Thanks very much for the Q&A time.
Thank you very much, and awesome job, you two, by the way.
Awesome job to you, Ziggy.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, yeah. It's a banger of a patch.
Absolutely.
Exciting.
All right, see you guys later.
Wow. Hey man, overall W. That is crazy. They pretty much reworked 2 leagues, added a brand new league, and the skill gem like color system with the change is actually crazy, dog. Actually crazy. Like that was actually freaking crazy. What are people saying? Let's see. Oh, it's my 3-month. That's funny. Wow, what a emote. Okay. Let me do this real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Update that real quick. So when do patch notes drop? Actually, no idea, right? Yo, Dismal, you still here? All right. So PoE is updating. Gotta wait for patch notes. I'll probably wait a little bit. If the patch notes do not come out, probably look at them off stream, to be honest. Oh man. All right, I'll be back. I'll be probably back in like 5-10 minutes.
All right. We got patch notes, y'all. We got patch notes. Let's do it. Holy. Okay. Curse of the Flame Challenge League for sure, for sure. New content feature upline. Introduce 2 new bloodline classes. Added new exceptional skill gem. Yep, we saw that. I'm just going to skim through most of this stuff. A lot of new skill gems, support gems. Added a new strength intelligence transfigure skill, Divine Blast of Radiance. So it's a holy light spell or skill. Holy hammers of spiral. Holy sweep of hammer falls. Reap the okay, we saw that. 15 new uniques. Oh wow, they added the crafting bench in the towns. That's funny. The audio of most race specters should be quieter, thank God. Mercenaries. Act 3 and onwards. Okay. Wager an item if mercenaries carry. If you lose the gold you levered. Okay, that loses. Yep, yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. I really don't care about the mercenaries, to be honest. Since they're not like permanent unless you play the ascendancy. Abyss, yes, Abyss. So Abyss revamp. Yep. Mm-hmm. Exclusive for Abyssal Jewels and Stygian Vices. So I have to do this for minions. Like, that's very important. Abyssal Delirium Orbs can no longer be attained. Wait. Increased Impale Effect. Impale Effect no longer rolls. Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Socketed gems now gain plus 10% to quality in red if gem color matches. Okay, yeah. Item sockets are now always white by default. That's crazy, dude. I can't believe they're changing that. Added a new following. Okay. Oh, the crafting bench options for red, green, and blue sockets have been removed. So you cannot target the one you actually need anymore. Oof. Oof. That's okay, though. Not a big blow. Talisman revamped. Yup.
Average number of monsters in Breach monster packs have been reduced. Okay. Number of monster packs spawned in unstable breaches has been reduced by 25%. Huh. The maximum number of unstable breaches that can be open at once has been reduced to 2, previously 3. Oh wow, they're nerfing breach. Wow. Oh wow, yeah, breach is getting nerfed. What the hell? Oh wow. So breach was nerfed. Holy shit. Mm-hmm. The Untainted Paradise unique map can no longer be obtained, and existing items cannot be used in standard leagues. Oh wow. It could be accessed randomly spawn event now. Player changes. Yo. They fixed a bug with the Raging Spirits. Oh my god. They did what? That's crazy. So the Raging Spirits, they had like a slight delay in their attack. Many minions already didn't pause while attacking and are unaffected. All non-specter minions no longer pause while attacking, dude. And one of them is spirits. Yo, W, bro. What the fuck? That's so good. Skills, items, modifiers, and once stated increase reduction to spell damage also apply to attack damage have been replaced with a new arcane might keyword. Oh, okay. That's just descriptive change. Ascendancy changes. Okay, here we go. Assassin. The death mark notable passive no longer has marked enemies cannot evade attacks. It now has 10% increased effect of your marks per maximum power charge. Shit. And 3% of leech is instant per maximum power charge. Oh boy, that's fucking strong. That is fucking strong as hell. The mystical infusion notable passive skill no longer grants base spell critical strike chance of spells is equal to that of your main hand weapon. It now grants spell critical strike chance. Oh. So they added Gorakon on the notable. Damn, assassin, bro, you about to be cooking. Oh yeah. Hierophant, the Ritual Awakening passive now has 3% more damage per summon totem. Previously 5%. Ooh, a little slight nerf right there. Inquisitor added a new Instrumental of Justice notable passive skill, which requires Instruments of Virtue. This notable grants base spell critical strike chance of spells equal to that main hand weapon. Cool. That's really good. I wonder how that works with Energy Blade. Well, it doesn't really. Yeah, I don't think it does.
The Instrument of Zeal, notable passive, now grants +3 to maximum fanatic charges. Previously 4. If Phantasm 5 seconds, previously 4. Grants less cost of spill. Less cost of spells. I can't even speak right now. Interesting. That's a slight nerf, low key. Oculus added a new notable. Acquires either Vile Bastion or Forbidden Power. Causes you to gain a Spirit Infusion every second while channeling a spell. Each stack of Spirit Infusion grants 30% faster start of Energy Shield recharge. Channeling spells deal 10% more damage, and channeling spells have 20% more cost. Maximum of 5 stacks. You lose 1 stack every 0.5 seconds if you have not gained a stack in the past 2 seconds. Damn, bro, it's only spells though. It's only spells. Kind of sucks ass. I mean, there are good channeling spells, but only spells. Okay, we seen this in the teaser. Passive tree changes. Okay, skill gem changes. Most spells that have received base damage increases also have higher damage growth with each gem level. For example, a Divine Iron deals 27% more damage at level 20. It now deals 37% more damage at level 30. Fuck. Yo, Absolution Buff now has a cast time of 0.65 instead of 0.75. Bet. Just gonna highlight Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning of Orbiting now has a cast time 0.5. It's faster. The mana cost has been increased by 25%. Oh shit. Okay, so Blade Vortex is a bit weaker, but has a huge increase of critical strike chance from 6% to 10%. Dark Pack has been renamed the Dark Bargain. That's literally the only change for it. That's funny as shit. Elemental hit. Lower the added fire and lightning damage. Oh damn, people are gonna be mad about this. 17% at all gem levels. Damn, people are gonna be mad about that. People have been playing Elemental Hit. Fireball base radius is now 1 to 1.8. A gem level 120. So it's okay, so it has a smaller, or I guess a bigger radius. Critical strike chance of 5%, previously 6. The base mana cost has been reduced by 20 at all gem levels. Now has a 480% effectiveness of added damage at level 20. Previously 370. That's a big increase. Oh yeah, so all fire spells hit harder, but have less crit. Dude, Firestorm is one of the most busted fire spells in the game already.
And now it has a 100% effectiveness added damage, previously 80. And reduce. Oh my god, dude. Firestorm is about to be insane, brother. We'll see some Firestorm builds. Ice Spear splitting now has a critical strike chance of 7.5. Oh, yo, what? Huge buff to Ice Spear of splitting. What the fuck? Splits towards 4 to 7 targets. Previously 2 to 5. That's crazy. Lightning Conduit of Heavens now hits 8 to 15 enemy at gem level 1 to 20, previously 6 to 12. So buff right there. It hits more enemies, better clear. And shock enemies as dealing 200% more damage. Whoa. Oh wow. Lightning tendrils. It has more base radius is increased. Cast time 0.2. It's a bit faster. Has been increased mana cost. Now has 190% effectiveness of added damage. Previously 130. Oh wow, dude. That is a big buff, dude. All spells are getting buffed up. Spark now has a cast on 0.6, previously 0.65. Okay. On Earth. Okay, support gem changes. All right, actually, let's look at this one. Archmage now has a supportive skill gain. Added lightning damage equal to 8 to 14% of unreserved mana at gem level. It's a slight nerf to Archmage. Okay, cast while channeling. Now has triggers a support spell. Wait. Now has trigger support skill 0.4 to 0.32 seconds while channeling supported skills. Oh. It's faster to trigger things. Supportive triggers deal 20% less damage previously. Oh, so cast while channeling has got a buff. Good buff. Okay. Unique item changes. That's not a big deal to me. Not really. The Wrath Pit. Hold on. Okay, this was nerfed. Add the following new corruption implicit modifiers. So these you could get now. Oh my god, you could get minimum and maximum charges on rings, some shields. Good. True. Hmm. Soul Eater now expires faster on non-players. A eaten soul is lost every 0.2 seconds if the soul has not been gained in the last 2 seconds. Thank goodness, bro. Shit was annoying to fight sometimes. Oh. Nice. Cool. Nothing too crazy for my league starters, but I'm out of here. I'm gonna call it there. GG's. Thanks for watching, y'all. 3.29 comes out next week on Friday, which is, I believe, the 25th. Let's see. 24th, actually. 24th. Yeah, I'm excited. If you're catching this as a VOD, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.